Boy, oh boy, I tell you, some days it takes this little thing forever to connect to all the Facebook and YouTube pages, but there we are. We are set up at just about 6:02 on this Wednesday morning, May 7th. Welcome. Welcome to Lake Wissota up here in beautiful Chippewa Falls. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Nice to have you along on the program. Let's see. Coming up, we will be talking about the Republicans running the legislature, deciding what ideas from Governor Evers they're going to keep and which ones they're going to take away. Well, we know which ones they're going to take away. They've put out the list, and there's more than 600 of them. Most of them ideas that are popular, but the Republicans aren't. So we have a special guest in our 7 o'clock hour, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Jill Underly. We'll be talking about the budget debate in Madison. We'll talk about the president's efforts to gut essential educational programs, and we will talk about Teacher Appreciation Week. We will talk to Joe Zepecki in our 3rd hour about whether Ron Johnson has done everybody a favor by basically rooting for killing Medicaid. I mean, doesn't it mean that other Republicans have to stop pretending like they're not going to cut it? I mean, Ron Johnson just kind of said the quiet part out loud, and I think he's speaking for pretty much all of his colleagues. Melissa Kay will be here as well. James Kelly, Todd Alba, Greg Bach, Brittany Merlot, all ahead as we get started 3 minutes from now across the Civic Media Radio Network and right here. We'll see you soon.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It is 6:06 on this Wednesday morning, May 7th. It is another beautiful morning to have you here up north, live from Lake Wissota, from wherever you're spending your mornings, listening across the Civic Media Radio Network or catching us on the app or social media or podcast. Appreciate you starting your day right here. I got a question for you. What you been grilling? Because, and if you haven't been, I mean, why? It's been just perfect weather lately. We had brats night before last, which also made for a nice lunch yesterday. And, the weather continues to be very good looking by and large for grilling. Be careful, of course. There's a fire danger out there, so be sure you're doing this in a safe place. But this is just the perfect time of year for it. And I may have been reminded of that watching the Brewer game yesterday and all the people grilling in the parking lot as well. There's just no better place than Wisconsin to do this, whether it's in a big old asphalt parking lot or in your own backyard. Coming up on the program today, Republicans running the Wisconsin Legislature have now released the first list of actions they plan to take on the next state budget, starting with killing more than 600 items requested by Governor Tony Evers, also requested by a parade of Wisconsinites testifying at Joint Finance Committee hearings. Help for childcare? Gone. Help for children being poisoned by lead paint or water lines? Gone. Fighting PFAS in drinking water? Gone. Expanding Medicaid to cover more families? Gone. Repealing taxes on tips and utility bills? Gone. Incentives to freeze local property taxes? Gone. And on it goes. We'll chat more about that throughout the course of the morning. We have a special guest in our weekly Homeroom segment, Dr. Jill Underley, State Superintendent of Public Instruction. We will talk about the state budget debate in Madison. We'll talk about the harm being caused by President Trump's efforts to gut essential educational support. And by the way, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. So we'll talk to Jill Underley about all of that. Joe Zepecki is along as well later on, and we'll ask him this. Has Senator Ron Johnson actually done everyone a favor in his most recent comments, where he basically roots for killing Medicaid coverage for families who otherwise cannot afford health insurance? By saying the quiet part out loud, has he made it that much harder for other politicians to claim, without credibility, that they are willing to cut almost anything, but they promise not to harm Medicaid? We'll talk to Joe about that as well. Melissa Kay is coming up in our history lesson. James Kelly has some civic media news from across western Wisconsin. Todd Alba will join us. Maybe. Depends on whether he wants me to yell at him again. I'll tell you more about that in just a bit. You can join us along the way as well. Call or text the show at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Again, you can use the Civic Media app, or you can put comments in Facebook or YouTube. We're on the Up North News Facebook page and YouTube page, and now the Civic Media Facebook page and YouTube page as well. Mary says on YouTube, grilling all year round. Love that. Love the dedication. Shiju, grilling students about their upcoming finals. I like that very much. And Mary reminds us again, it's not just Teachers Week, it's also Nurses Week. And we appreciate all of those folks who are engaged in all of that wonderful work. Let's take a look at Brittany Merlot's statewide forecast, and she will be here in just under an hour now. She's going to tell us how a cold front will put the brakes on our warm-up, but just for a little bit, before we get to a weekend that'll be warm, but maybe a little wet too. So for today, cooler but still sunny. 70s in southwest Wisconsin, mid-50s by the Great Lakes, and a northeast wind at 10 to 15 miles an hour. Tonight, clear and chilly, maybe a little frost up north, with lows in the low 30s in northeast Wisconsin to low 40s in southern Wisconsin. Again, a northeast wind at 5 to 10 miles an hour. It is 50 degrees here in beautiful Chippewa Falls. And meanwhile, down at Radio Park in the greater Milwaukee area, we find ourselves saying hello to one Greg Bach, who I remember last year got himself a brand new grill. And I do wonder if he's been able to break it in much yet this spring. Mr. Bach, good morning.
Not at all yet, Pat. Not one bit. But it will be happening. Sorry, I'm stretching everybody. That's really unprofessional. But point is I'm going to take off the cover. I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to make sure everything works. And then I feel like making some just really tasty salmon. I have a really good recipe for salmon that I haven't used in a long time.
That would be good.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm liking that.
Yeah.
So I mentioned Mr. Todd Alba and what he tried to pull yesterday, and I'm for folks that missed it. I was just working around the house, minding my own business, taking care of some things because I'll be off next week. And
like a good American.
Like a good American does, take a little time off now and then. And being the responsible one, I went through on the calendar, the show calendar, and for the shows next week, for the appropriate folks, I canceled those. And then it sends an email saying this item's been removed from your calendar for this day. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just minding my own business. My phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize. And so I let it roll to voicemail, and then I see the message on my screen. And it says, "It's Todd Alba. We're live on the air. And I wanted to find out why you canceled me for tomorrow morning's regular appearance on your show. And did I say something wrong? Can you call me and let me know why I've been canceled?"
Oh, my God.
I did not call Todd back. I have the link to join his show. Why ring the phone when you can come in right through the front door? So he's minding his own business about 10 minutes later when I show up on screen, demanding to know why he hasn't read the full note, which would have explained you're not canceled tomorrow, meaning today now. It's for next week when I'm gone. And, well, hilarity ensued, and I was going to just leave it at that, but now Tony just put this up on YouTube. Are you going to call him live on air right now? Tell him he was scheduled for 6:20 and he missed it, because that's initially what I thought when he first called and said, "We're live on the air." I thought, oh no, did I miss my time I'm on his show every week. Did I miss? No, this isn't our day. But he scared the you-know-what out of me. And
the cookies out of you, the absolute cookies out of you.
Do you have Todd's number handy? I'm thinking Tony might be onto something here.
Oh, I have it. I have his phone number. If we can explore that option. Okay.
All right. Let's see. Tony says it was the spiciest I'd ever heard, Pat. And then Roger says, "Amen, Tony." I was a little bothered at Todd yesterday for that. But should we see if he's awake?
Pat, I don't feel like being yelled at 6:15 in the morning.
That is the one thing that might stop me from that is the notion that if he is still half asleep, he may forget the FCC has rules against reacting in just a certain way.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
hey.
Todd, thanks to Greg, you're off the hook. Sweet dreams, sunshine. We'll see you at about 7:50. In the Up North News Daily Newsletter today, a little overview of Wisconsin Dells water parks at a glance, some of the biggies, and a link on how to get some of the best deals as you plan any of your maybe upcoming summer water park trips. Also in the newsletter, easy to grow Wisconsin native plants to add to your garden and protect our little pollinator friends. And again, in our weekend newsletter, I asked, is it time to trade Giannis? A lot of people saying no, do not do that. But there are folks as well who say it's time to rebuild. So if you'd like to know more about all of that, get in on that debate, be part of our newsletter, head over to upnorthnewswi.com, click subscribe up in the top banner, and be on board there. I might have created a tempest in a teapot here. I'm getting people who are just really hoping that we make some trouble here. Cassandra, hey, I grew up in the Dells. I can give you all the insights. I like that, Cassandra. Go ahead and dish the dirt. And Tony, keep your eye on the dump button. Yes. Mark, morning news journalism you can't get on regular television. No, sir. Nope. You don't get co-anchors like calling each other in the morning on those live TV shows. So
I'm just thinking now about all the anchors I had when I was a kid. Like, you're like, I'm calling John Drilling. It's 5:30 in the morning.
I can just imagine my calling up one of the morning anchors. No, that just wouldn't work out. Mr. Mathers is confused. He's on the text line going, "I have to go back and listen. Did all this happen on air?" Yes.
Yes.
It did. It did. And, what Tony says, was it a secret show special? No, this wasn't during the commercial breaks. This was right there on Todd's little program. So, do you think he'll show now at 7:50? I'll bet he does. He's got to, right?
Well, yeah, I hope so. If he doesn't show up, we're calling him. I don't care. Like,
Or
we're
do
calling
we now? Do I send him a note saying, we've had to cancel the segment or something?
in light of previous events, I've decided to discontinue your event until your appearances until further notice.
Oh no, we can do better than that because we know who else is listening. Let's blame Mathers. Yeah, we just got a memo from Luke Mathers. We've had to stop the crosstalk between hosts here. Oh God, he'd so freak out. Todd would just go nuts. I want to do it. Okay. Let's turn to sports before this gets way out of hand. Jake Bauers hit a 2-run home run as the Brewers got all their runs in the first inning of a 4-3 victory over the Astros on Tuesday. Starting pitcher Chad Patrick worked a career-high 6 2/3 innings and carried a 1-hit shutout into the 7th. Trevor McGill retired the side in order in the 9th for his 4th save in 5 opportunities. The Brewers go for the sweep this afternoon with a day game. Then they'll be hitting the road again for Tampa and Cleveland for the weekend and early next week. So we've got that day game today, and the pregame begins at 11:35 on several Civic Media stations around the area. So 11:35, head over to civicmedia.us to learn more about coverage of the Brewers. I've not been paying much attention to the hockey and basketball playoffs. I do see the Timberwolves lost to Golden State in the first game of their conference semifinal series. I'm still just a little amazed that they eliminated the Lakers like they did. So I'm not going to get too attached to the Timberwolves. That is perhaps the most snake-bit franchise in NBA history. But at least once again, much like Vikings fans, the Minnesota fans, God love them. They've had nothing to cheer for since the Twins in 1991. And, they get to the postseason and they bring their fans to such a point, and then like Wile E. Coyote, they just go right off the cliff. After that.
Say, instead of like, I would just Icarus jumping off the cliff to fly to the sun. Someone just tripped Icarus on the way out and just like down the yeah. And honestly, I think Wisconsin, even though Wisconsin has, we've got, with the exception of our Brewers, we have recent championships. It's still, we can still identify with that because we're not dynasty teams. None of us are.
No, it's a being the smaller market, it is a nice surprise when they have great seasons. Cassandra says seeing Josh Hader last night just reminded me of my anger at trading him. Oh, I was so angry back then. It really was.
We don't have enough time. We don't have enough time to talk about my anger.
Nope. We'll just let it go. Take a break. Look at some of the news coming up next from the heart of America's Up North, live from Lake Wissota. Thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. With or without extra heapings of sarcasm, I'm Pat Kreitlow, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network. Yeah.
Now seeking slogans. Actually, my biggest not a fear, but like, is that the phone would just ring and go to voicemail and be like, he's not there. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather him, like, if there was a guaranteed answer, but then again, that's planning. And that's,
he played my message. Hi, Pat, let me leave a message. Hey, Pat, we're live on air. Where are you?
That's true.
Oh, that was something. All right. What is today? The 7th?
Today is the 7th.
The 7th. Okay. 7th at 6:06. Reviewed Todd Alba's phone hijinks.
Only 7 months and 8 days until Christmas.
There won't be nothing on the shelves. You'll get your $2 and you'll like it.
It'll just be gift cards this year, if those are even in stock.
Yep. Tony, I had a very long night with the baby. This Todd stuff is exactly what I needed this morning. Thank you.
Nice.
Let's see. This Mark, I watch Civic Media every morning on YouTube. Let's see. She's you don't stop Halloween. Well, there'll always be candy.
Yeah. That's
Christmas presents. That's a whole nother matter right there.
I'm just not a Halloween person. It's fine. I know it's other people's jam, and I love that for them. But like for me, I'm like, I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially where we are, we get virtually no trick or treaters, and so it's just it doesn't have the same thing. But let's see what's next here. Oh, we're gonna do all the stuff dropped from the budget. That's right. Okay. Here's a headline from the Journal Sentinel. Prince Fielder's son had his first at-bat in the Brewers organization, and guess what he did?
Home run.
Well, I'm going to guess it's not he didn't pop out. I mean, yeah, it's a home run. Yeah.
3 generations of baseball players. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you don't want to play baseball. Imagine you should be like, Dad, I want to just knit for a living. Your grandpa would be so ashamed.
Media is so different now. The headlines used to be very dry, like, dog bites man or whatever. Here's a Journal Sentinel headline this morning. Prince Fielder's son had his first at-bat in the Brewers organization, and guess what he did? Definitely not the headlines I grew up writing. It's more of the, we know something you don't know.
That really brings up something that sticks in my craw,
grinds
my gears.
It's time for What's Sticking in Greg's Craw with Greg Bach.
On my phone, like, I rarely fall into clickbait where they do the thing of like, this band is going on tour after 42 years, or it's actually the worst ones are CBS has canceled this popular TV show. And you click it, and not only is it not in the first paragraph, it's not in the second, third, fourth, or fifth. Nope. It's like at the bottom. Oh, by the way, it's this show. Like,
it was Gilligan's Island, and they canceled it in 1972.
That just goes to show for me personally that in this world, that it's not about that story anymore. It's about just getting that click through and being able to report that to advertisers so they can buy stuff and make the money.
And guess what? I clicked on it so that you don't have to. And the story by J.R. Ratcliffe says, well, that swing looks familiar. Jaden Fielder, the son of Prince Fielder, hit a home run in his first professional at-bat at the Arizona Complex on May 5th. Fielder, age 20, was signed as an undrafted free agent last year. That's some talent in that family.
Absolutely. 3rd generation now. Yeah. And let's see here real quick. I just want to make sure. J.R. Radcliffe, though, will be on the show next Thursday. He's on every other Thursday on Matt and Aaron Air. So you can catch him at 10:30 to give us all the sports breakdown. This week we have Paul Noonan. Next week is J.R. Radcliffe.
All right. Good to know.
Yeah.
Also in the Journal Sentinel this morning, and certainly everywhere else in Wisconsin news, the announcement by Republicans that they are removing 612 items from Governor Evers' proposed budget, which is not, of course, the world's biggest surprise. In the past, they have made it a goal to expressly cut out a large swath of what the governor is proposing. I mean, in the past, it has been everything from 200 items, and then there was like 300 items, and there was 500 items, and this one is more than 600 items. But it does mean that they will actually maybe not scrap Evers' entire document and go from there. Maybe. But that's really inside baseball at this point. The bigger problem is what all the Republicans have cut. A lot of them are very popular policy proposals that would help with, for example, let's look at tax brackets. The governor has always wanted to have a middle-class tax cut, and so the governor was looking for a new income tax bracket for filers who earn $1 million or more, or $500,000 if you're a single filer. Evers would have raised the income tax rate for people earning $1 million or more. Currently, the state's top tax rate is at the $420,000 level. Now, $420,000, that's still a pretty decent salary. But what Republicans are saying is somebody who makes $420,000 is going to pay the same tax rate as somebody that makes $1 million in income for that year, and maybe the next year, maybe $5 million, maybe $10 million. And they still have to do the same tax rate as folks who are, making far, far less comparatively. For the governor, he dubbed 2025 the year of the kid. He had proposals for K-12 education that totaled some $3 billion, but Republicans removed a number of those requests, including $300 million for mental health initiatives, like reimbursing school professionals, social workers, peer-to-peer suicide prevention, free school breakfast and lunches for all kids. These are the same folks. Remember how they say it's not the guns, it's the mental health. We have a mental health issue with our young people. So the governor proposed doing something about it, and they're going to cut it out. The Republicans also took out an Evers proposal to add more filtration systems to water fountains, to deal with lead hazards from like lead paint in old schools, also at in-home childcare providers. Republicans want to remove $128 million in student financial aid to encourage more low-income students to further their education. Let's see, what else do we have in here? They're removing proposals by Evers that would have modified rules for voter ID, absentee voting, automatic voter registration to help encourage people to vote. They also are going to remove a provision, again, that would allow clerks to begin processing absentee ballots the day before Election Day. Because, again, it feels like they would much rather fuel the conspiracy theory that there's something untoward in Milwaukee because there's so many ballots, they're not done counting till the middle of the night. The governor had proposed that health insurance companies with a demonstrated record of consistently rejecting consumers for their health care coverage, those companies would be audited by the state to see if they're on the up and up. Republicans want to take that out and remove that level of accountability and transparency. This would also hurt consumers looking for a break on prescription drug costs, extra money for PFAS monitoring. It takes out marijuana legalization that's in there. It takes out a 48-hour waiting period to purchase handguns. The governor recommended an additional $2 million for the Wisconsin Black Historical Society. Republicans said that they're going to remove that as well. Again, we've only scratched the surface of some 600 ideas investing in education, protecting consumers, and every one of those things is going to be taken out this week by the Joint Finance Committee when Republicans meet to start to form their own budget. They've held 4 public hearings, but we still don't really know what they want to put in the budget. And when they do, by the way, there won't be more public hearings. Basically, you're going to get what you get by the time the Joint Finance Committee is all said and done. Hey, thanks for spending some time here as part of your mornings powered by Up North News. We will have more live from Chippewa Falls, including Dan Schaefer after the Midwest Farm Report. And now back to more of what's sticking in Greg's craw.
My craw is quite
Greg,
dirty. Thank you very much. I gotta
clean up that craw.
I gotta get some WID 40 up there and loosen things up. Thank you.
WID 40, nice. Oh, let's see here. All right, so yes, I'm gonna go and then Dan and then back to me. Get that Brewers thing up there. Daytime baseball. Ain't nothing like it.
Oh, man. Oh, let's see. Can I listen to it on? Yes.
Yes.
I think I'm going to take the dog to the dog park this afternoon. Maybe just turn on the baseball game while I'm doing that.
Okay. Did you talk to the folks at Ashley?
I did. I submitted a claim. And now I gotta wait for their. It was a weird day yesterday. She knew that I was upset, and she knew that. So I took her to the dog park for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Wore her out. Then she's been sleeping with me for the past couple of weeks now.
Uh-huh.
And when I was like, you want to go? I said, you want to go in your apartment? She went right into her crate, and I closed it up.
Mm-hmm.
And she was there all night. So I think I'm hoping that when I get home, everything is good.
Yeah. That was some weird behavior there.
Yeah. Very unlike her. Like, this is not, she'll chew up mail or chew up many remote controls. She thinks remote controls are a ball, essentially. But this is the first time she's actively destroyed like a piece of something.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
All righty. Okay. I'm going to go find some stuff for our 706 segment. In case you missed it, and now with a 3-hour show, there's a chance you might, we will occasionally bring you one of the previous day's 8:30 segments the next day here at 6:30. Dan Schaefer is someone you'll probably hear many Wednesdays at this time. The Civic Media political editor and founder of the Recombobulation Area joined me to review this week's state capitol calendar, specifically several bills that are giving us a sense of deja vu when talking about the Wisconsin Legislature. And it's a familiar pattern where the Republican leadership passes bills that they like. They sound good, makes them feel good. They know Governor Evers is going to veto them. He vetoes them. They attempt an override. They, of course, can't override. And they would learn their lesson, right? And never try to pass bad bills like that again because they're not going to get signed into law. No. And that seems to be a theme with some of the bills in committee this week. And Dan, I don't expect you to know the answer, but we'll ask it anyway. Why? Why passing the same bills over and over again, knowing that Governor Evers is going to veto them?
We've had this, we're in this era of divided government,
Mhm.
and we have been since Tony Evers took office in 2019. We're in the third year of Tony Evers' second term as governor, and the Republicans in the legislature still haven't seemed to figure out that they are working in a space of divided government. And so there's a package of bills that's making its way through the state legislature on reforming kind of the unemployment insurance program. And as so many Republican initiatives on these types of things do, it is creating more barriers to access benefits, making it more difficult for people to get benefits. I heard some, Democratic legislators call it, basically a penalty for an added penalty for getting fired from your job. And in this moment where, DOGE is, eliminating all sorts of jobs. We just saw last week that the hundreds of jobs with AmeriCorps are being eliminated. Doesn't seem like the time to, make it even more difficult for people to access benefits. They even are proposing to change Wisconsin's unemployment insurance program to rename it the reemployment assistance instead of unemployment.
Oh,
insurance.
Lordy, that's downright Soviet out of
Yeah.
them, is to say, well, if we just, relabel this as some kind of reemployment assistance, that's going to fix everything, when it does sound exactly like, kick a man while he's down, kick a woman while she's down and jobless and looking for something. We're not going to do anything about the childcare crisis that we talked about in the last hour with Corrine Hendrickson.
Mhm.
And instead, we're talking about these extra hoops, like according to the proposal, as I'm reading off of a Wisconsin Public Radio story here, for example, a person would need to have direct contact with potential employers and expand the current requirements that a person search for work every week until while they're collecting unemployment insurance. And that's, again, on its face, people go, oh, I don't see the problem with that. If you haven't been unemployed and you haven't faced that barrier of trying to make direct contact, if you've got a small business, on your long to-do list, is one of them making time to greet everybody that comes to your front door and says, hey, do you got a job? Or do you find some other way to get around it, making it tough to have direct contact, making it tough to justify getting your benefits? It's one hoop after another that Republicans want poor people to jump through.
Yeah, I'm quoting again from that same Wisconsin Public Radio story from a few weeks ago. Ahmad Rivera-Wagner said, this body wants to add hoops and red tape complications at a time when people are yearning for help, not punishment. And instead of extending a hand, we're adding to add more government to track down fraud that barely exists. So there's a number of different bills here that are part of this package. They have all now passed the Assembly, and today they have a public hearing in the state Senate. So as these continue to move through, the tighter majorities now that we have in the Wisconsin state legislature, I expect these bills to pass, but I would, take note of some of those swing votes as they make their way through the Senate. There's going to be some people who are going to be defending their record. And if you are creating more barriers to, I don't know, let's say Medicaid at a time when our senior senator is saying we should cut Medicaid from the federal budget, or in the federal budget, that's going to create some problems for people downstream from these decisions.
It's going to create a lot of problems for people downstream from these decisions. And again, I always feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but because some people love jumping to conclusions in the comment sections, people go, oh, you guys are defending, fraud and waste and abuse. And we're just getting back to Ronald Reagan's, welfare queen mythology here. Of course, there are people who abuse a system. Any system has people that come in and try to get around the rules. But to take something and do something so radical with it, with so very little fraud, it doesn't matter if you're talking about election fraud or unemployment compensation. Again, you're picking on kind of the smallest thing to justify getting rid of the program, when, you know what, just be who you are and say, I don't think unemployed people should get help. I don't think, whatever. Add your extreme position here, Dan, and stop trying to, just weasel around it saying, oh, this is all about waste, fraud, and abuse. We've long since shown where that is just not substantial enough to justify throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
You're absolutely right. And it's this constant tension that you have when it comes to these types of bills too, because it's just like, I think Democrats want to say, hey, well, let's bolster the safety net. Let's extend more options for healthcare to people, fund education, all of these different kinds of things, and be there for people when they need help. And I think, we're looking at right now with some of these federal job cuts, I think people need these types of safety net policies in place to be able to be there when people need them. And this is what Republicans do over and over again. They just chip away and find any way to weaken these programs so that they're ineffective, and then people don't like them, and then they can cut them. And it's the same. You were kind of talking about it before with immigration. It's just like, yes, we want to have reforms to the immigration system. It is broken, but what Republicans do to legal immigration too is just continue to chip away at all those pathways for people who want to go about the process legally. And it's the same thing with these, access to public benefits and this unemployment insurance, and like you said, the Kremlin-esque way of calling it reemployment assistance to go about this. As well.
It's silly and sad all at the same time. Let us switch gears, talking with Dan Schaefer, political editor for Civic Media, about Josh Schoeman, the Washington County executive. And I talked a little bit about him yesterday, just based on what little I've seen of him from the pandemic onward. So as somebody who's down there in the Milwaukee area, talk to us a bit more about how he is perceived. I certainly sense a stereotypical hostility toward Milwaukee. I certainly heard him playing up his support of Donald Trump's tariffs. So, I mean, is there anything that indicates he would be independent, or should we be expecting, again, like Tony Weed up in Northeast Wisconsin, try to get that early Trump endorsement and be one with all things Trump?
Yeah, I think he is, very much a typical Republican in so many ways. And, one of the things that has, he has been he's been a regular on conservative talk radio in the Milwaukee market. And, that's a really big thing. And he gets his name out there and he makes certain headlines. But he talked in his launch video about loving your neighbor. And one of the things that he's done to raise his profile in a really significant way has just been to bash Milwaukee. And it's your typical wow counties versus Milwaukee type of thing. When the Milwaukee raised its sales tax about a year and a half ago now, he posted something out there saying that, hey, come spend your money in Washington County instead of spending it in Milwaukee, where you have a greater sales tax. And it's just like, I get that if you're, a small business and you're advertising, buying furniture or something like that. But it's another thing when you're a politician and you recognize that those shared revenue negotiations that happened went to save a bunch of jobs in city services, in law enforcement, in public safety, in all of these different areas. And I think that was a really cynical ploy. It kind of led to this back and forth between him and the city, the mayor of Milwaukee, Cavalier Johnson, saying that, there was a comment involving Cracker Barrel, if people remember that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think I want to point this out from Schoeman's record as well. So in 2022, he was making a lot of noise, and this about a referendum that he was advancing in Washington County called the Anti-Crime Plan referendum, to add 30.5 positions to the Washington County Sheriff's Department. And he was really playing this up throughout the whole election cycle during the midterms as, hey, we're in this red county. We're going to fund our police. This was right, in the height of the defund the police backlash that was happening in conservative politics in particular in the time. And he made a lot of noise over the course of that fall, saying that, hey, we're going to do this. Milwaukee cuts its police department, and we're going to fund ours, blah, 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 blah. Well, people voted against that referendum pretty resoundingly. And in one of the reddest counties in the state, he failed at his effort in this quote unquote anti-crime plan to add positions to the sheriff's department. And it failed pretty resoundingly. Like it was 56% of the voters rejected that. So to me, it's just quite the record of non-accomplishment to run on when this was one of your key policy initiatives on kind of a home run issue in a county that votes like 70 to 75% for Republicans most of the time. And he was unable to get that passed. So, he's a divisive politician. He bashes Milwaukee at the same time. He talks about, loving your neighbor and getting back to that type of Wisconsin. He is a typical politician, and he is part of the problem.
There was Dan Schaefer talking to him yesterday in our 8:30 segment on the early jockeying in the 2026 race for Wisconsin governor. But getting back to the legislature, there are bills that could be helpful for the many challenges and opportunities ahead of us in Wisconsin. And tomorrow morning, we're going to talk to a state senator about one of those bills. Housing prices are higher than they need to be, and there are many reasons for that. But we should talk about one of them. Hedge funds. Wall Street hedge funds buying up houses and either holding and then selling them later for profit, or turning them into rentals, which reduces the supply of single-family homes for ownership, which drives up the price for the housing stock that is still available. State Senator Sarah Kieski of Lodi is sponsoring a bill to ban ownership of single-family homes by Wall Street landlords. These are bipartisan proposals that are being put up at the state level and at the congressional level as well. They haven't received the traction to pass yet, but are we getting closer to that point with the crisis of affordable housing in Wisconsin and around the country? We will talk to State Senator Sarah Kieski as part of our Peek Under the Dome in our State Capitol report at 8:30 tomorrow morning. But Greg, getting back to what Dan Schaefer had to say about Josh Schoeman and the governor's race, again, I said before, look, Josh Schoeman's not like a rich businessman like Eric Hovde or Tim Michaels.
Yeah.
But except for that part, what's coming out of their mouths is almost, there's no separation between them.
No, not at all. No, it's that constant. We're good. Everyone else bad, and everyone else is Madison and Milwaukee because they're all thieves and liars and all that. It's just the same old. Just give me someone who actually just cares about Wisconsin. I don't care what party.
Somebody who cares about Wisconsin and all of Wisconsin, not just, up north or whatever. Today's history lesson is next. There we go. I almost had my first.
You thought you had one more minute.
Yes, he did.
I could tell when you asked me a question a minute. I'm like, oh, he thinks we still have more time.
Yep.
But I absolutely agree with you. And unfortunately, like I can't say this anymore. Well, why can't someone just be a rational Republican? Why can't someone just say, hey, I want to, cut spending. I want to do this. All the things I was used to growing up hearing from the Reagan Republicans, even though he was awful too. But
yes,
it's because you can't do that and have a hope in heck of even making it through a primary, let alone getting elected. You have to hook on to all the worst rhetoric to get attention. And that sucks.
I couldn't do it now, having already run for office and been out there as a Democrat. But when I first ran in 2006, or first announced in late 2005, there were a lot of people surprised. They're like, "Oh, we watched you on TV for years. You're wearing a suit every night. We just assumed you were a Republican."
Yeah.
And which was a compliment. I never tipped my hand one way or the other when anchoring the news.
Yeah.
But one of the things I said throughout that first campaign was, when I was growing up, there used to be liberal Republicans and conservative Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody's just kind of self-sorted into team red, team blue. Yeah. And honestly, if I had never run for something, if I'd been doing this all this time, I absolutely am positive right now I'd be making noises about, what, I ought to run as a liberal Republican. Mm-hmm. And I'll bet somebody who does that could win. Yeah. Saying, look, I want taxes low, but I'm not going to ban books and hate on people,
I want taxes low, but I want taxes low for everyone, not just the super rich.
Yeah. Hey, Madam Director, how are we doing?
Speaking of the super rich in spirit.
That's accurate.
Yes.
Nothing else am I super rich in.
Aw. How was
Except
last
yarn.
weekend?
I have so much yarn.
So much yarn.
It was
Welcome to So Much
wonderful.
Yarn with Melissa K.
Yep.
Melissa came
Would
ready
you
to
like
party.
a toast
Like
delivered
you-
to your front door? Yes, no, it was a lot of fun. We had a great
Yeah.
time. The show was fantastic. Laura did a magnificent change from Tim to fabulous Laura on the drive.
Would you do me a favor, Melissa, real quick? Bring your microphone
I
in
was gonna
close.
say, do you
There
have
we
your-
go.
Yeah.
There
That's
it
much
is.
better.
Oh, Phyllis turns herself down. I don't know why she does that.
You named your microphone. Okay.
I did. Her name is Phyllis.
Yes.
Well, A2020T whatever just doesn't suit her.
I'm just...
I name. Well, that's fine. Mine is named Michael. So
See?
Oh yeah. Okay.
get it? Yeah.
Mhm.
Get it?
I love you.
His,
guys.
his last name is O'Phone. He's Irish.
You're fabulous.
You're not going to find a lot of prettier intros to music than that from George Harrison, who released this song, Give Me Love, on this day in 1973, so 52 years ago today, as part of today's history lesson. And we are joined once again by Melissa Kay.
Good morning.
She's an award-winning director, radio host, storyteller from 97.5 WFHR and 105.5 WIRI, whose big play premiered last weekend, right?
Yes,
And
it did.
how was it?
Oh, it was fabulous. Everybody, the audiences, there was like this low rumble of laughter through almost the entire show.
That's a good feeling.
It is. That's awesome. Oh, I'm so happy for you. You
Yep,
just seemed
so
like you
we-
were walking on sunshine thinking about this and doing it and pulling it off.
Yep.
And you got one more weekend.
One more weekend, Thursday, Friday, and the matinee on Saturday.
Okay. All right.
That reminds me, I got to go see my niece right now. If you live in the Kenosha or Racine area, my niece is starring in Hairspray right now at the Rhodey Theater. So
Oh, wow.
Awesome. This weekend, yeah.
Congratulations.
I would love to see Hairspray as a play. I've only ever seen it as the movie.
come on down.
And I think that would be fun. I would have, back in the day, I would have loved to do the James Marsden character on that. That would have been fun. Back to today's history lesson. Hey, 25 years ago today, in the year 2000, Vladimir Putin was inaugurated as president of Russia. Imagine being leader of a country for 25 years. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
What I love about that is that there was a rule in Russia. You could only be the president for 2 terms, and then he became prime minister,
Yes.
and then he became president and changed and abolished that law.
Yeah. Amazing how that happened. You don't suppose that could happen anywhere else.
No, constitutions are made of paper. That's easy to rip up.
Nightmare fuel, guys. Come on.
All right, let's get back to the calendar. The history calendar on this day in 1824 marked the world premiere of Ludwig van Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in Vienna, Austria. There are parts of it you are certainly familiar with. You probably know the Ninth as this part of the choral symphony, Ode to Joy. They say it's about joy, but they are screaming at you at the same time.
We're all awake now.
Yep.
Thanks, Pat.
Are you joyful? Are you happy? Come on.
Oh, I want coffee.
You maybe you're more familiar with the very beginning of Beethoven's Ninth because that was the NBC News theme song to the Huntley-Brinkley Report back in the day. Network news
I
jingles
still
have
get
come a long ways.
I still get goosebumps when I hear this part of the symphony.
Oh, yes. So that was part of the Huntley-Brinkley Report in the 60s at NBC News. A sad day at NBC News as they mark the anniversary of the birth of Tim Russert, who would have been 75 years old today. Passed away in 2008, way too young. I was looking yesterday. He was 58. when he had a heart attack and died.
Jeez, I need to know. I need to know what the world looks like today with Tim Russert in it. That's
Well, Tom Brokaw, in signing off the obituary, the special report said, I can speak confidently that NBC News will never be the same. And he was right. Had not been the same. Number one song this day in 1977. You might have heard of it. It's from the Eagles.
another song where the intro, Goosebumps. It's the Eagles, I know, but still.
Yeah, yep. And by the way, Melissa, a 52-second ramp. So we got time to tell a story here. You know,
I know very well.
Wait,
Sorry, it's my checkered past.
Oh boy.
Oh, forget the story I was going to tell for 52 seconds. Go on. Come on.
The
Share.
name of the rock band I was in.
What?
What?
We played this song.
What?
Actually,
Okay.
they
All right.
played this
Okay.
song.
I'm sorry.
didn't
You
play
don't
it,
just
but-
gonna be like, I was in a rock band, then walk away.
Yeah.
What was the name of it? The K Delights?
The checkered past.
Is that what it's called?
Checkered past, yeah.
Were you guys a ska band or a punk band?
No, they were a hair band.
What? I feel like we've
Well, they were
barely-
a classic rock band. Let's put it that way. Classic rock.
all right.
Party band.
Cassandra on YouTube. Hot take. I really don't
I
like Hotel
agree with you,
California.
Cassandra.
Overrated.
You know,
I
I've
agree, I agree.
tried for years to dislike the Eagles. I can't.
You
They're
can't.
so good.
It's so
They're-
overplayed. That's the
Well,
problem.
this song, yes, but then you got to listen.
It's maybe a good song if you only heard it 6 times, but when you
Listen
heard
to-
it 47,000 times.
Oh boy.
Wow.
I know the guitar solo by heart.
Oh.
Well, everyone does. I mean, that's not really.
No, I mean, but you can play it. Could you still play it now? Or
No, I can't say. I don't play guitar.
okay.
I will challenge it. I will challenge people to if you. That's fine. That's fine. Listen to a song called "Journey of the Sorcerer." It's an Eagles song as well. You'll recognize where the theme song comes from. So, just "Journey of the Sorcererman."
All right.
All right. Today is Barrier Awareness Day. It's also Packaging Design Day, which, when you think about it, the two have some similarities because sometimes packaging design can be a real barrier. Make it easier, kids. This is National Skilled Trades Day. This is National Home Brew Day for those of you who like to make your beer at home. I haven't. Well, I'll let that go. I'm not a homebrew person.
Yeah.
I went
Meanwhile,
to a homebrew party once.
did you like it?
Interesting.
Do you remember it?
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't drink. We made beer.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And meanwhile, at the other end of the spectrum from homebrew is the Cosmopolitan, and this is National Cosmopolitan Day. So we've gone from the very hoppy and bitter to the very syrupy sweet. There's a drink there for everybody. Well, what's your next challenge, Melissa, after the play comes to an end this weekend?
I want to transform my flower beds
Ah.
into a vegetable garden.
every time someone talks about yard work, I get jealous.
I'm sorry, Greg.
No, we're
fine.
Come help
very-
me.
I need to work on my. I need to work on my own yard. That's the thing I'm talking about. So.
Thank you,
Oh, I
Melissa.
thought you meant you didn't have one.
Yeah.
Appreciate it as always. We've got Dr. Jill Underly, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, coming up as part of our homeroom segment here as part of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow here across the Civic Media Radio Network. Again, remember, you can find what we do over at Up North News, WI.com. We'll be back. Bring your alibis. What? Oh, stop doing that to
Greg,
her.
you hate me.
I don't hate you. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Do you want me to stick around or am I
Are you free? Do you want to? I want to
can.
hear more about this rock band.
It was my ex-husband's band that broke up, and then they got back together after we were married and then broke up again. So,
So he broke up the band and
Not
his
him.
marriage.
No,
No, I mean
they
he was
were-
part of 2 breakups.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, Greg looks so unhappy.
I know.
What's
Greg
the
hasn't
matter, Greg.
Greg hasn't had the best week yet.
Oh,
we're
I'm sorry,
working.
Greg. I love you. What's
I
the
love you
matter?
back. There's just nothing. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right.
I'll just stuff it down and hopefully I'll won't eat my feelings later.
Compartmentalize and you'll unpackage it
Yeah,
and handle it later.
sure. Let's go with
Okay.
that.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm a phone call away, buddy.
All right. call me. All right. Melissa, are you sticking around?
Yes, she is.
I am.
Good. Awesome. Excellent.
All right. We all be back in a bit then.
Bye.
On Wednesday, we'll have our home. Hello, Ms. Merlot.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Greg.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Who's all getting the rain?
Not really anybody. It's going to be like possibly down southwest, like Richland Center kind of area.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal. I feel like I want to...
I was gonna say, can confirm it's not raining here.
Okay, good.
All right, 15 seconds.
Okay.
across Wisconsin on Civic Media. You're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Good morning. It is 7:06 on this Wednesday morning, May 7th, 2025. Nice to have you here up north. Coming up this hour, our regular Wednesday homeroom segment. Often we talk to folks from the Wisconsin Public Education Network. We went a little higher up the food chain. We're talking to basically the head of Wisconsin Public Education. And that would be State Superintendent Jill Underley will join us. We'll talk about the crafting of the state budget bill, the chaos in Washington, D.C., and its potential impact on Wisconsin education. And, of course, we'll talk about Teacher Appreciation Week coming up as well. Joe Zapecki in our next hour. Melissa Kay is hanging around to chat with us some more. And Brittany Merlot joins us, Civic Media meteorologist and award-winning report. How do we...
We have 2 award winners.
Yes. Look at all the... So
I'm
much
technically a
awarding.
third, but it was second place.
You're
But
there.
you're still award winning.
Yes.
I know.
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't have like hardware.
Oh, you still have a paper,
I
which
got
is
this
awesome.
old-
You could
I
frame
got
it.
this
You
old
could put it
pencil.
up.
This pencil cup, would you take that as like a trophy or
Hey, look, a blind guy from the 19th century that strolled in.
a literal tin cup that I somehow inherited?
That's kind of cool.
I was
Back
just going to
when,
say, I would
yeah.
take that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You
That's
could
not
More
probably make,
useful than a thing that's going to hang on the wall.
yeah,
Right, at work.
or copper. It'd probably be a great Moscow Mule thing if it didn't have like 30 years of ink at the bottom of it as a pen and pencil cup.
This just makes you tougher.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it just makes the drink that much stronger. Well, we better get to the weather here, Brittany, where we have enjoyed just a lovely warm up, which I'd love to see continue, but maybe with a bit of a dip on the way toward those warmer days.
Yes. So
Okay.
it was wild warm yesterday.
Yes, it
Ashland
was.
hit 87 degrees. I went
my
outside in pants. Okay. Yes, I'm admitting the meteorologist did not listen to her own forecast. I went out for a walk in pants and I was sweating in the afternoon. So, I'm welcoming the cool down because that was a little much really quickly. But either way, Ashland hit 87 degrees. And, we are going to see cooler temperatures still hanging out by Lake Michigan and even by Lake Superior now. We're going to start to get that cool down as this cold front has moved through the state. So it's going to keep us a little bit more comfortable today, not as warm. Still plenty of sunshine, dry conditions, and a very high fire danger. That's through most of the state, especially north of Wisconsin Dells, all throughout the North Woods. Of course, we've got a little bit of green grass out there, but it's not enough. Still, that vegetation still trying to come back to life. So even just a few days of dryness in these conditions, it can spark a wildfire rapidly. So please be careful. I think there's 30 counties with burn permits now suspended. We've had 658 wildfires burning over 2,000 acres so far just this year in our state. So please be careful out there. Otherwise, high temperatures today will hit the 70s south and west in the state. But if you're by the big lakes, Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, you're going to be in the mid 50s for highs today. A ton of sunshine up north, a few more clouds down south because there is some rain hanging out into Illinois and Iowa. But that cold front should keep a lot of it away from us. So I don't suspect any rain for today. We do have chances moving back for some showers and storms Friday night and into our Saturday morning as another cold front drops through. But behind that front, we warm things up rapidly. We're going to be right back into those mid 70s for the weekend. So a slight cool down now, and it's holding all the warmth for the weekend.
All right, very good. Melissa, I was asking at the top about using this nice weather to grill out, and I wonder if in all of your busyness, are you grillers over there, and have you been a chance to do some outdoor cooking?
I'll have to cook over my campfire because I don't have a grill anymore. But yeah, I love cooking outdoors. It's fun. I have pudgy pie makers.
Oh,
There's so many things you can do with those.
I love a savory pudgy pie.
Yes. Crab rangoon
Oh.
or a meatball and a croissant.
This is fancy
Croissant,
campfire
croissant.
stuff. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, Brittany, did you know that Melissa was in a band? Sorry, just had to bring that up again.
No.
Oh, we're coming back to that.
Oh my God.
Coming
Come on,
back-
you guys.
Yeah. Robin Tigerton says, good morning. Partly sunny, 51 degrees. Yesterday, soaking up the sunshine, mowing lawns in the Wittenberg area. And today I've got 4 yards to mow in Tigerton. He said yesterday he had a 3 p.m. lunch at Rachel's Roadside in Wittenberg. They had a fundraiser for a gentleman in Wittenberg who has throat cancer. Let's see. I signed a $10 sign-in for a guitar. I'm thinking that maybe was a prize for
It was
that.
a fundraiser.
Oh,
Wow.
I gotcha. And Melissa, I hope I can buy you a drink sometime after I bought her, Brittany, and Dr. Kristen in Appleton on election night.
Yes,
So,
thank you, Rob. That was very
Thank
thoughtful.
you.
yes, as Brittany and Melissa, a winning Wisconsin team, and that it was 82 degrees in Tigerton, dust flying in the farm fields as farmers work up their fields. And yes, they are. The field work is like fast and furious.
And dusty.
And dusty, yes, and very dusty. That's all right. Brittany, appreciate the forecast. Thank you so much for that. But now let's get to the
get back
thing
to
we just learned about Melissa here, that she was in a rock band.
Shouldn't have mentioned
Wow.
it.
Before we get to that, Brittany, were you ever in a rock band? Do we have any?
No, never a rock band.
Okay.
Melissa, please
All
tell
right,
me
then
more.
we'll just keep the focus on Melissa here. So, for folks who might have tuned in after the top of the hour here, she just kind of let it drop that she was in a band called, what was the name of the band again?
I'm not saying it.
The Checkered Past,
The Checkered Past.
which I thought it was a ska band just because the reference to checkered, because Melissa, don't get all blushy washy over this. You brought it up, okay?
I did. Only because I hate Hotel California.
See,
Don't-
that's what that hatred does, though. That hatred leads you to say things you would regret, and if you do that with the Eagles,
Yes, I was one of the singers in the band, and I changed outfits every set. So I had, a plethora of cute things to wear that were red, black, and white. And it was a
so you're
fun
going for like a
time.
white stripes thing. I see. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
it was a party band. I mean, these guys were all born in the 60s, so they were all very, I think the band broke up in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, and then they got back together. And
When did this all
early
happen for you? I need to know. Early 2000s?
Mid 2000s, probably.
Mid 2000s.
Yeah.
any chance you'd be interested in like a one night reunion? Just
No.
one night
Yeah.
only.
No,
Yeah.
Like
I
say the
never wanna see any of
WBA
these people
Awards
ever again.
2026.
no.
No, Greg,
The
you
band
got
breakup
it.
was not
Look at
pretty.
this.
The band
Troy
breakup
fr-
was not pretty.
Troy from Madison listening to WAUK says Checkered Past was a good band.
Wow, you've got a fan.
fan.
There's more than one checkered past, and it's probably not the one I was in.
Mhm. Wow.
I don't know. I'm very intrigued by this.
I need
And
to see pictures. I need to see photographic evidence of this band.
I want to hear a verse because she said she was the singer.
Come on, move on. Don't you have better
We'll
things
move
to talk
on.
about on your morning show?
do
Not
you
at
have any-
all.
Seriously?
No. No, the budget will be there for a while. We can be sad about that later.
I was actually, if you hear clicking in the background here, we've got Dr. Jill Underly at 7:30, and we're looking at scheduling up Congressman Mark Pocan, and they were just sending a note saying, could he pop on today? I'm like, well, yeah, we could do 7:45 after Dr. Underly, but we may push both of these interviews.
Yeah. We can talk about school and Congress anytime.
We need to rock out right now.
This is Brittany. Yep. See, Brittany said it. We're going to hand Brittany a tambourine and we're just going to. It's the greatest. This is the greatest day on earth.
No, it's not.
When you had the talk show, and are you bringing back the talk show, or is that in limbo? What's the
I hope
state
so.
of?
We'll
Okay.
see what happens.
All
with,
right.
It is
everything
award-winning.
else.
It is
It is
award winning. Yes.
Mhm. Yep.
I'm thinking either you interview yourself as a rock star, or
Interview
somebody,
myself.
yeah, or
That'll be great.
or somebody interviews you.
Melissa, how did you think about being in this band? Well,
Great.
it was an
I will-
interesting time in my life. I remember most of it. All right. So,
Well, then you weren't that good of a band if you remember most of it, from what I know of musicians. But
exactly.
oh gosh, if you were going to do this though, what would you like to do? Would you do rock again? Would you do oldies, polka?
Honestly, I would like to get back into, because I am learning guitar. I've just taken a very long break from it, so I would just like to
See?
continue to learn and play and sing my own music, or covers that I like, as
Melissa,
opposed to bands I don't enjoy singing.
you know who else took a break? You know who took a 14-year
You?
break?
You?
The Eagles.
Oh,
14-year break, came back
you
and made
like-
all kinds of money after that.
I can see it now. It's your own. Seize the K.
Yes.
Oh, look at this.
Use the K.
We're whiteboarding an entire marketing plan for this. Meanwhile, over at WFHR and WIRI, we're like, I thought this was supposed to be about our station. She's going to tell us what's coming up on the stations. It's just all about the rock band. So, Melissa, is there anything at those fabulous Wisconsin Rapid stations you want to tell us about?
We have a lot of fun with our new time slots. Our morning show on WFHR has moved from 9 to 11. And then our midday magazine has been what's the word?
Rebranded?
Thank you. As the Rapids Report.
Oh, I like
The
that.
Rapids
No,
Report.
James did a good job with that name. And that will be available on podcast only.
Oh,
That's where our
okay.
audience is. So that's where it's available.
Are you doing the Stephen Colbert thing, like the Rapids Report, like that? Or?
I'm not sure. I'm not in charge of
Okay.
that.
Okay. To be determined.
Yes.
All right.
And then on WIRI, we have our morning show from 7 to 9.
Okay, that's fabulous. So there you go, folks. Civic Media app. If you need any other way to reach Melissa and all that she does, and whatever play you're going to direct next, and whatever band you're going to be in next, and whatever podcast you're going to do next, you're like our Renaissance woman here.
I'm going to go work in my yard.
Okay, flower beds and everything. All right, Melissa.
Vegetable garden.
Yes, it was great to catch up with you. We're so happy about the play, and we didn't get to talk to you last week, so thanks for letting us get a double dose of you this time around.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes, and Brittany will talk to you in our next hour as well. Get an update on the forecast.
Sounds good.
Okay. Robin Tigerton has this figured out. I sang karaoke back in the 1990s. Good thing no social media at the time. Amen, Rob. There's no phone video of anything that I did back in the day. And that's how God meant it. We weren't supposed to have permanent records online of these kinds of things.
I agree.
All right. Continuing on then with some of the headlines, if you missed it in our first hour, the legislature's Joint Finance Committee will be meeting tomorrow, and the Republicans who lead it will take action on Governor Tony Evers' initial proposal. That's how this thing starts. The governor proposes a budget. The legislature then, adds or subtracts, negotiates. In the past, they've just simply taken his bill and put it in the metaphorical wastebasket. And that's essentially what they're doing tomorrow when they've put out a list of the 612 items that they're going to be stripping from the budget bill. That would include help for childcare, help for children exposed by lead paint or lead water lines, extra help fighting PFAS in drinking water, expanding Medicaid to cover more families, repealing taxes on tips and utility bills. There were incentives to freeze local property taxes. All of that is gone, along with the extra help for education, for mental health services, all these things that were far and away the most talked about items when the Joint Finance Committee was holding its hearings around the state. The governor's proposed the things that people want, and the Republicans on Joint Finance have said, we don't want them, and they're coming out. So they'll make that official tomorrow. Dr. Jill Underly on the way, and perhaps Congressman Mark Pocan as well, from the heart of America's Up North, live from Lake Wissota. Thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network. Well, holy cow, it looks like Alba's going to get bumped anyway if Congressman Pocan can come on.
Pat, how many cuts did you say? It was 612?
612, yes.
Crazy.
Melissa, you're the best.
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. Have a great day.
Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy next week.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good day, bud.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. I got it. Greg,
Yeah.
dial up Todd.
Okay.
Seriously, dial him up. Put him on
All right.
hold. Yep.
All right. Didn't hear a please in there, but okay.
So that's the kind of day it's been.
All right.
This sounds like the beginning of Billy Joel's It's Just a Fantasy with the phone number dialing. There's a deep cut from the 80s kids. Trying to clear up the confusion about somebody's checkered past. Welcome back to the program, Melissa Kay's band, Checkered Past. Is it the same one that Troy and Madison saw once upon a time? Inquiring minds want to know. But in the meantime, we've got to do a little live on-air business here. If you were listening earlier, you know that Todd Alba had a little fun with me yesterday about, time slots and where I was supposed to be and when. But as you just heard in the last segment, we've now got the opportunity for a couple of different guests that could come on yet this morning, but it would involve needing some flexibility on the part of Mr. Alba. And I am kind of tap dancing here because he either is or is not going to be on the phone. Oh, he is not. He is not going to be there. Well, I guess we know who's screening his calls now. So Todd, if you're listening, instead of at 7:50, we'd love to talk to you at 8:06 if you're around. So we'll send you a note to that effect. I can't believe that. Greg, did he just roll you right to voicemail over there?
No, this is not a Todd thing. I'd love to play it and be like, yeah, it's Todd, but it's not.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. We understand. So anyway, what we've got then is a state superintendent and Jill Underley, who's going to be joining us in just about 10 minutes here. And then Congressman Mark Pocan will be joining us around 7:45. And so we'll get a chance to find out more about what's happening in Washington, D.C., both from Congressman Pocan, but also from State Superintendent Underley, because as you know, the Trump administration is trying to cut just an insane amount of money that has already been approved by Congress and is meant to go to education in Wisconsin and other states. And so we'll ask the state superintendent about that. We'll ask the congressman about it as well. And Jill Underley will talk about the state budget process and talk about Teacher Appreciation Week, which is going on this week. And, well, I mean, obviously should be an everyday thing of appreciating the people who are educating our children. But, at this point, if we need a special week to remind people that these are things worth paying for, then we will definitely take it. The daily newsletter from Up North News, you can find it at upnorthnewswi.com. And in there today, Christina Laurie has a review of Wisconsin Dells water parks. I shouldn't say a review, I should say an overview. We're not rating them here for you, but she also gives you information on where you can look for the best deals when you stay at a water park, which you might do for something upcoming, Memorial Day weekend, or as soon as school gets out for the year. So head over to upnorthnewswi.com, click subscribe in the top banner, and be part of that. I have noticed this weird, and I'm not the only one who's noticed this weird little fixation lately from Donald Trump and the men in his administration, and dolls, and young girls' dolls, and the comments about how, these girls don't need 20 dolls, maybe not 30 dolls. And Trump went on in another interview to say, well, the dolls might cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. This from the guy that said he was going to be fighting inflation and prices were going to be coming down on day one. Well, Mattel, the maker of Barbie dolls, has now announced it will increase the price of some U.S. toys because of the Trump levies on Chinese imports. But it's also just weird to see that Trump, in multiple interviews and now other administration officials, have fixated on, well, girls can do, less with dolls. That was one way that it was put. And then Trump said as well about kids, they don't need to have 250 pencils. They can have 5. That's an actual quote, that kids don't need 250 pencils. They can have 5. They don't need 30 dolls. He says, I think they can have 3 or 4 dolls. I just want to know why the girls and the dolls, why are you making them look materialistic? Where's the comment of, well, maybe the guy in the big red MAGA hat doesn't need an 85-inch plasma screen. Maybe you can get by with a 55. Maybe you can get by with a 55-inch TV. Maybe you don't need a pickup truck, that is the largest thing on the road and a hazard. Maybe you can get by with the little Ford Rangers, that you used to drive when people were using pickups, to actually haul things on an everyday basis, not just, for show.
Well,
but we don't hear that. When you're talking, if you're going to talk about shared sacrifice, then for goodness sakes, let's go all the way. Is there a caller on the line here, Greg, who would like to discuss
a caller on the line from the
weighty issue
from the Madison area, sir? Welcome to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. Who is this? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, well, you know where I'm calling from? The Kreitlow planned this because we had a snafu on my show yesterday.
Well, guess what, pal? Guess what? We got the snafu on this show now. I'm double booked. I've got Jill Underly. I've got Mark Pocan both in the next half hour, which you remember when Johnny Carson would always bump, the comedian who was coming on at the very end?
Yes,
yeah.
Right?
How do you feel about being bumped to the top of the hour at the 8 o'clock hour?
Well, I can do that because this is a real first for radio for me. I'm calling into your show naked, Pat. I'm in the shower.
Okay.
All right.
Well, how do you do this every time? You manage to take something where I think it's just working nicely, and every time I'm hearing a little voice in the back, and it's Luke Mathers having a heart attack, is what it
Pat,
is.
I have to ask you a question. How do you fall for it every time?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Bob says you wanted me on the show. Call in now.
True.
So
I did.
Okay, fine. I'll call in right now.
All right, pal. Well, look, next time around,
I put a towel on. I've put a towel on by now. If you want the truth.
Honestly, I want to hear running water next time. I mean, these things are waterproof now.
Here it is. It's right here. Right here.
I didn't necessarily mean. I'm about to have the state superintendent and a member of Congress on, Todd. We have to save this for the 8 o'clock hour. I will talk.
I've been to a couple of Democratic conventions. It's nothing too different. So.
Wow. I'll see you in a half hour, buddy. From the heart of America's up north and live from Lake Wissota, thanks for making this a place to spend part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Yeah, TMI Todd is that's perfect. Oh man. Yeah. Todd
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that happened.
There you go.
All right. People say, don't talk about Trump so much. Well, do you like the alternative?
It's either this or sports.
Yes.
All right. So we got Dr. Underly coming on now.
We've got Dr. Underly right here.
Right there.
Now.
All right.
Jill, good morning. How are you?
Good
I'm
morning,
well.
Doctor.
How are you? Good morning.
Good. Yeah. Nice to have you here. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. So you've got, we've got for Teacher Appreciation Week, you've given one award to an educator, but you've got more to come, right?
That's right. Yeah. We, We do 5 total,
Okay.
and 1 for every level. So elementary, middle, high school, and then we do a student services, and then I think like a specials, like elective, like music, art, or something
Okay.
like that. So,
That's great. All right. All right. Well, you look good and sound good. So we're ready to do this here. We will get going in just over 3 minutes.
Okay.
So I'll tuck you back in the waiting room and I will come get you after the commercial break.
all right, thank
See you in
you.
a bit. From the text line from Lori in Hayward, maybe Donnie Two Dolls doesn't need a $45 million birthday military parade. Yeah, we haven't even really gotten into that yet, in part because there's so many times that President Trump says something and then nothing comes of it. Where he says, I want to do this, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And there are many real things that affect you right now. And if we get to the point where this guy's actually serious about a multi-million-dollar parade, as he's telling kids they don't really need toys for Christmas, we'll get into it then. But let's deal with what we've got in the here and now. And that includes reminding you that Dan Schaefer, who was on in the last hour, you can catch his work at the recombobulation area. And I didn't share that address earlier when he was with us. It's at therecombobulationarea.news. Therecombobulationarea.news, and of course all across the Civic Media website, where he is the Civic Media political editor. Let's visit now with State Superintendent of Public Construction, Dr. Jill Underly, as we head through Teacher Appreciation Week and start to bring this school year in for a landing. Dr. Underly, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, well, we appreciated the chance to get to check in with you before the school year wrapped up entirely and while the state budget was going on and while whatever this is was happening in Washington, D.C. Let's start with the good news first. It being Teacher Appreciation Week, you've already provided some official recognition to one educator. There are more to come. So can you tell us about the importance of having a week like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just that teachers leave such a lasting impact on their students, and we can't thank them enough for everything they do every day. And I think everybody has that teacher in their life that they've thought about, here and there, who's made such a deep impact on them as adults. And as you said, there's more to come. We named our first one earlier this week on Monday, and that was Joel Coyne at Sun Prairie East. And Sun Prairie East High School. He's a business and marketing teacher, second career teacher. So teaching was not his first thing out of college. But no, there are more to come, and we try to do one in every level. So elementary, middle, high school, as well as pupil services and then electives.
And it's great that the Department of Public Instruction does that. But I also noticed that, say, local media will do that. They'll have, Golden Apple Awards or Sunshine Awards or Jefferson Awards or all kinds of things where they too will salute these local educators. It seems like an awfully nice and well-deserved counterbalance to what we so often heard in political circles about public education in our state and in our country.
Yeah, there is such an imbalance. I think, when you look at the day-to-day of schools, incredible stuff happens in schools every day. It's positive. When you go into schools and you visit schools, they're celebrating students. They're celebrating the work of their teachers. And it's so positive. But the positive stuff very, very rarely, I feel, makes it into the regular news cycle. The news cycle focuses on what sells. It focuses on the negative. It focuses on, controversy. And unfortunately for our schools, they lose out on that. And that would be something I'd love to change.
Oh, without a doubt. We're talking to Jill Underly, State Superintendent of Public Instruction. And part of that, of course, stems from, we're going way back now to the Act 10 days and the years that this legislature has had the current management scheme, shall we say. And as we have talked about in the show, the Republicans running the Joint Finance Committee have already announced the 612 things that Governor Evers has proposed that they're going to strip out of the state budget. Many of these things deal with education. Some you agreed with, some you probably would have liked to have seen, done more or differently. But just from an overall standpoint, looking at the state budget and where we are in the process right now, what's your own evaluation of what the finished product could end up looking like?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. I feel like that the Republicans in the legislature also understand that we must invest in our public schools and the future of our kids. And that's exactly what mine and Governor Evers' budget proposal does. And it's a great opportunity. It's a tremendous opportunity to shape Wisconsin's future. They could leave their mark on Wisconsin's future by making critical investments in education. The cards are out there. The number of referendums that have been on the ballot, the number of referendums that pass, also the ones that just barely fail. I think, the public, at the hearings, has made it very clear that they value investing in public education. And we have been, when you think about the generations of kids since Act 10, we're at 15 years that these kids, we've graduated an entire cohort of kids that have lived under austerity measures, teachers getting paid less than they would in other states, less than what they were earning really in real dollars in 2010. You look at the cuts to programs that we've had to experience and school districts trying to make that up by passing referendums. These are opportunities that our kids and our future have really just missed out on. And so the Republicans and the Joint Finance Committee can leave an indelible mark on the future of Wisconsin, and it's an incredible opportunity to do so.
And we should note that sometimes things are pulled out of what the governor proposes, but then some things come back in at either a lower level or some kind of a modified level. So if we look at it from that approach, what kinds of things would you say if people could contact their legislator, especially if it's a Republican one, to say, look, there is still time to make this better by doing X? And I mean, for me, X is always that wide disparity in special education reimbursement, but there's also mental health services. What do you think can be done that is actually feasible that Republicans could put back in or modify?
Well, I think, just giving our school districts the flexibility, again, to make their own decisions about revenue, making sure that they have enough revenue, whether it's in special education reimbursement, which would give them spendable revenue, whether it's in raising, the low revenue ceiling to make it to the state average, giving school districts the flexibility by increasing the pupil amount. The reasons our school districts are going to referendum is because they've been locked in to these revenue limits that were put into place in like 1993. And it's just really, they are just handcuffed. Like, they can't make local decisions because they don't have the ability to even raise their own revenue. But then there's the other things, like you mentioned, like there's all these cuts coming from the federal government that we're going to have to figure out if those are priorities or not. And our school districts have found that they have been. Mental health support has been a lifesaver, literally, for kids in our schools since COVID. You look at the investment in mental health has helped with our graduation rates. It has reduced truancy. You look at the investment in school nutrition and how that has actually improved academic outcomes. So there's a lot of things, and literacy. There's a lot of things, and it's really just that we don't have the flexibility to implement these without the funding.
And we've got Congressman Mark Bocan standing by, and we're going to talk to him about this as well. But let's conclude on that note of the uncertainty of what Trump says he wants to cut, what you're confident will be cut, the uncertainty about what is out there. Come on, I can't even form a basic question about it because we're getting nothing but curveballs thrown at us from the very highest levels of government.
Yeah, it reminds me of those choose your own adventure books, when we were younger. But yeah, we're all for being efficient in government, but not when it comes at the expense of our kids. And it's just really, that's what it's coming down to. We're informed every week, it seems, on some program that's being eliminated. And the most recent one was the mental health professionals in our schools. It's just ridiculous, it's just how cruel, this can be. But we're seeing results from the federal funding before, and for them to cut it, that's really unfortunate. You look at there's pilot programs that we've had, for recruitment of teachers. We've had pilot programs for math instruction and literacy, AmeriCorps. There's so many things that we've, know are working, and yet are just being randomly cut.
Well, again, under that guise of, we're returning education to the states, which is, again, a fallacy. The state already has had that. It needed the assistance from the federal government, and that is certainly in jeopardy at this point. Dr. Jill Underly, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, thank you so much for telling us about Teacher Appreciation Week and giving us an update on all the governmental matters in Madison and D.C. You've got a lot of plates to keep spinning, and we appreciate you spending some time with us.
I appreciate it too. Thanks so much, Pat.
You bet. Have a great day. And let's turn to again, the chaos in DC, where nobody's keeping the plates spinning. The plates are just falling and crashing everywhere. Congressman Mark Bocan joins us. Congressman, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I'm a little late.
Oh no, you're fine. We had Dr. Underly available, so we've been able to have a very happy twofer today to get both of you on the show this morning. And so let's just start with that. Let's pick up where we left off with Dr. Underly, just on the education funding, because yes, you've been in Congress for a while, but you were in the legislature for quite a while prior to that. And so you can speak as well as anybody to this notion of what the MAGA folks are saying is, well, cutting the U.S. Department of Education doesn't mean anything. We're just returning education control to the states. It's so much more than that.
That's cow manure, okay?
Yes.
Because I know I'm on the radio. That's how I'm saying it. Here's the bottom line. They're cutting 45% of federal funding. What that means, because they have not identified how they're going to do those cuts yet, could mean cuts to things like Pell Grants, which I received when I went to college. It could be cuts to IDA or Title I funding. These are some of the bigger pools of funding. Title I is for lower income districts, many in rural parts of Wisconsin. IDA is for special ed funding. At the end of the day, if you cut one of those two funds locally, you're likely going to have to raise local taxes to pick up for some of the slack, because you're going to have to fire a lot of teachers and you're going to have really big class sizes. So that means we get to pay even more for reduced services so that Elon Musk and Donald Trump get a giant tax cut, because that's now $5.5 trillion estimated by the Joint Committee on Taxation. So yeah, I mean, Dr. Underley has got her hands very full with what's going to be coming up in the legislature as well. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of faith in the Republican majority in Congress to get it right.
Well, and faith in whatever they say, because I'm looking at a USA Today article about how it says the Trump administration has reversed course on a proposal to cut all funding for Head Start, and says that there will not be changes to the Head Start funding. I don't know that I can trust that.
No, this happened a number of years ago when they were going to cut, when Trump won, was going to cut Special Olympics funding. And I and others called out the secretary when they came before my committee, and they backpedaled and they didn't. And the good news is we actually were able to add money at the end for it because of how stupid their moves were. And certainly, Head Start is one of those programs that'd be incredibly dumb to try to cut. But they're going to have these cuts supposedly between now and Memorial Day. I think it's going to stretch into between now and July 4th, because they already had to cancel three markups this week, because even their members are saying, oh, you mean when I said I was going to cut $880 billion, I was going to cut Medicaid? Oops. No, they knew it, but they're getting enough pressure from people back home.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what we need to do right now.
That's right.
That pressure up.
We'll continue the conversation with Congressman Mark Pocan, but first, from the heart of America's up north, live from Lake Wissota. Thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. Joe Specchi in our next hour. I'm Pat Kreitlow, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network. All right, we're in a commercial break here. It's a 3-minute break.
Okay.
So you know the drill. I'll tuck you back in the waiting room so you can make some noise, and I'll come get you in a little bit.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. All right, 10 seconds. Tomorrow on the program, we will have Melissa Baldoff, and our state capitol report will include State Senator Sarah Kieski about a bill that would ban Wall Street hedge funds from owning single-family homes in Wisconsin, which drives up prices as they get converted to rentals. Let's continue the conversation now with Congressman Mark Pocan, and let's start with Medicaid this time around, and a tale of two of your colleagues. You have, on the one hand, Congressman Derek Van Orden, again, saying all the usual things like he has told his leadership and he has signed a pledge not to make any cuts to Medicaid. And, well, we're going to cut all kinds of waste, fraud, and abuse, but not Medicaid. And then Ron Johnson goes and rips off the Band-Aid and says, I don't know why everybody is so squeamish about this. If we got to get rid of Medicaid, we got to get rid of Medicaid is what he's saying in so many words. And I'm kind of thinking he did us all a favor by saying the quiet part out loud and making it clear that for every Derek Van Orden out there promising not to cut Medicaid, there's a Ron Johnson kind of giving up the game.
Well, the thing is, when you make a promise, you also have to keep it. And I've heard those promises made by that member on SNAP, and he voted to cut SNAP as well. So, what the Republicans in the House did, and then the Senate concurred in a vote, even though they had 2% of the cuts of what the House had, was an $880 billion cut to the Department of to the Energy and Commerce Committee's jurisdiction. Their jurisdiction is Medicaid, Medicare, and everything else, totaling $581 billion. So even if you cut everything else, which no one has ever said they were going to do, you would still have to cut either Medicaid or Medicare by $299 billion by their own votes. So anyone who says that they're not going to cut it already voted to cut it. That's just not true. And, Ron Johnson, often says things out loud that, most people would not say out loud, but it's true. That's what they want to go after. I think they want to make it so that able-bodied men have to work in order to get Medicaid, which saves so little money. That's nothing close to what they're proposing. They're going to propose maybe a per capita limits on folks and all sorts of things. And luckily, they're having a fight within their caucus right now. But I noticed, Derek did not sign the letter that some members sent publicly saying they wouldn't vote for Medicaid cuts. So I guess we'll see what happens at the end of the day. But Medicaid, for your listeners, is healthcare and long-term care for 1.3 million people in Wisconsin. 1 out of 3 kids gets their health care from Medicaid. 55% of seniors in nursing homes gets their support from Medicaid. 45% of adults living independently with disabilities get support from Medicaid. So it's a big thing, and that's why it's important not to cut.
It's a big thing it's a lifeline for so many families. And Senator Ron Johnson just speaks so cavalierly of just, cutting it. It's got to be cut. And I guess magically the private insurance folks come in and it's all affordable somehow or another. I'm not quite sure. Or they just go without coverage. I don't know what the Ron Johnson alternative is. I'm not asking you to speak for him either.
Ron Johnson could take his private jet to any doctor in the country.
Yeah.
I think that percent of people in Wisconsin is very, very small.
So you did allude to the other thing I wanted to ask about with Congressman Van Orden and others who have said, oh, we're not going to cut SNAP, traditionally known as food stamps, nutrition assistance, and came up with this other scheme where instead of passing like 25% of the cost on to the states, you would only pass on the cost based on the SNAP overpayment rate or the error rate in your state, which makes me wonder, was that the Republican plan all along, but you start with an extreme position and then, Derek Van Orden looks like a hero by saying, no, let's go to this lower number instead. Or do you end up that they actually do try to, push 20% of SNAP costs onto state government, and folks like Derek Van Orden have to say, well, what could I do? I was outvoted.
Yeah, that's a cut. And if they vote for the package at the end, they voted for a cut. It's so simple. Yesterday I had a little conversation with the Treasury Secretary in a committee, and I asked a real simple question: who pays for tariffs? And boy, the answer was the most esoteric Zen Buddhist sort of theory of life answer, other than who pays for tariffs. And in this case, if you vote to cut the funding, that's a cut. Vote to cut a program. and we can't let them get away with any kind of, tap dancing about what the words mean. And, we need to hold people accountable. So, this is really why when Republican members of the House or Senate don't have town halls and aren't accountable to being heard by their constituents, that, they'll listen to the DC special interests and their leadership rather than the people back home. And that's why that's such a big problem.
I've got a note here from somebody at Civic Media who says that they put that clip of you talking about tariffs and trying to get a straight answer. They put it up on the Civic Media Instagram, and that site alone, that video got 300,000 views because people are just in disbelief that they won't answer a basic question from you.
Well, and I guess it was Jimmy Kimmel last night. Last night I was on Lawrence O'Donnell, and what he said, and it made the most sense, was it's such a simple question. And the fact that they can't answer, usually members of Congress have to bloviate, and I'm as bad at that as probably anyone. But it was a really simple question. It wasn't a gotcha. I was trying to get to talking about businesses in Wisconsin that are being hurt by the tariffs. But when he couldn't even answer the most basic question, it just shows you it doesn't pass the smell test that we live by back home. And at the end of the day, Trump's tariffs are taxes on all of us. But man, I lost my 5 minutes just trying to get a simple answer to who pays for tariffs. And, I think at the end, the secretary looked pretty bad for trying to tap dance that desperately.
Yeah, look, if you want to do something, just say you're going to do it. And I mean, give Trump credit. At some point, he finally did say, yes, those Barbie dolls will cost a couple of bucks more.
Yeah.
And just follow along with that if you can. But the tap dancing, I sense, will continue as we move through this process. And we appreciate the update. Congressman Mark Pocan from the 2nd Congressional District, always great to catch up with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, same. Thank you, Pat. Take care.
All right. Yep. Take care now. And again, tomorrow we'll have State Senator Sarah Kieski on, Melissa Baldoff as well. Coming up in our next hour, we will be talking to Joe Zepecki. We'll ask the Medicaid question there as well. We will get an updated forecast from meteorologist Brittany Merlot and Todd Alba. Allegedly, Greg, we think. Let's hope.
He said he'll be here with clothes.
Oh, okay. In that case, Greg Bach is back in 1 hour for Matinaire on Air. So he says. There he goes. Maybe he had to go talk to Todd too. More after this on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Pat Kreitlow. What is happening?
Too many screens. There are too many screens.
Oh my goodness. So many grades.
Did you see my message about today's second hour?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
You just all you need is a title.
No, if you want to change the title and add something to it, just like Mark Pocan joins us, or I don't know if there's something specific you want to say.
So
that way it's
yeah. And we'll take out Trump's name. So Jill Underly and Mark Pocan on Cuts and Chaos. There we go.
All right.
And
Cuts and Chaos. Yeah, I was trying to do a bunch of stuff, and then I pressed enter, and it was enter in the bottom screen instead of the top screen, and that all went to heckfire.
There. All right. That's all set.
Perfect.
Sam has arrived.
Speaking of all set, Sam's here, everybody.
Hello.
Yay.
Hello. Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan. Hello. All right. I'm going to publish second hour. Third hour's Pat, just so you know, I scheduled the third hour to publish.
Mm-hmm.
So in that third hour, if there's ever a thing like you're like, Greg, can you change this or this? Let me know before it publishes. I mean, you can always change it after the fact, but if there's ever a thing that changes, just let me know and I will go ahead and rework it. So
I will do just that.
Other than that, we're all set. Okay. Enjoy, Todd.
Yes.
It's
been nice working with you. Are we what?
Are we missing like the whole third hour from the show plan?
No, I don't think
you
so.
mean on the planner rundown usual?
The thing that I send out?
May 7 show notes.
It's all there. Pages The 8 o'clock hour is pages
That's weird.
6, 7, and 8, or 6 and 7.
If you scroll down, there's a whole page that's
Okay,
blank.
There are 2 documents labeled May 7 show notes, and I guess I was on the wrong one.
Oh,
I was looking at May 7th, 2024.
There. Okay. We've solved that mystery.
Yeah.
Man. What a day.
Well, I'm going to go and jump into a lake right now. Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye. Oh, Shizu, you could not be more right. I do that with everything. Everything starts with the year first when I label something. So today would be 2025-0507 -05-07. How it should be. Thank you for the affirmation. And Sam, you said you can't really come on at all during the A block for chatting. I will hold you to that. Hi, Brittany.
Good morning.
What a morning. All right, 10 seconds.
Okay.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
And good morning. It's 8:06. It's nice to have you here up north on this Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. Coming up later this hour, we'll talk to Joseph Pecky about some of the political headlines of the week. He's also a candidate for state Democratic Party chair, so we will talk a bit about how things are going in that race that will happen at the state Democratic Convention in mid-June. Civic Media meteorologist Brittany Merlot is here, and Brittany, I would like to apologize to you in advance.
Uh-oh.
We had to bump Todd Alba, and we couldn't have him on his normal 7:50 time. we said, can you come on right after Brittany's weather at 8 o'clock? And he eventually said yes, but the problem was we reached him at an inopportune time. And he had the audacity to tell us he was in the shower at the time. And now, from what I can see in the camera, Brittany, he's got a towel turban on right now. It's just
I'm fresh out of the shower, Brittany. I'm smelling great. I mean, here's the deal. Kreitlow or Greg said he tried to call me. Our phones aren't working. They never rang. I get this urgent message that says, if you want to be on the show, you have to come on now. So now means now, and you mean it's live radio. You got to go on when you're called. The show must go on. So I dialed in, standing there bare as the day I was born. I did put on a towel by the end of the 2-minute segment.
But my TMI posts,
hair I have
we're
left
getting
is still drying. So
we're getting oh no from folks. We're getting oh Todd. We're getting TMI Todd. It's just
well. Look, folks, be thankful I didn't use the camera.
We're thankful. Don't get me wrong.
I'm no Brad Pitt or whatever you want. Yep. I don't have the body for that, so I left the camera.
Shishu putting up. I'm waiting for a big batch of curly hair to pop out from that towel. You're going to be waiting a while.
Oh no! You want to see? Look, there's hardly any hair left.
Well, it's amazing what a career in politics and then radio will do to some folks. Are you listening on another?
Well said.
Are you listening on two screens again, Todd? Because I'm hearing myself there.
Oh no! You want to know what it is? I'm turning down the computer. No, it's my earbuds died. They weren't charged, so I had to use the speaker thing. It's so that kind of a morning, you understand?
So for folks that missed it earlier, we have to rewind quite a bit because Todd misread a memo and somehow got the impression that I was canceling him from appearing on our morning show, Brittany. And he mentions this live on air, decides to call me live on air yesterday. I don't answer the phone because I don't recognize the number because a radio station's never called me from the studio to be on before. And I get this message saying, why have I been canceled? You're live on the air. And I thought maybe I'd missed my time to appear on his show. So I go running for my phone and trying to call him back, only to find out that he made a little mistake. He was not being canceled from our show. He's being canceled next week while I'm away. But that's fine. But anyway, hilarity ensued.
It was the best
like
received segment of the entire show. People thought it was fantastic that Pat would do that and take time, and people loved it. It was a whole new afternoon version of Pat Kreitlow. It was ready to go.
When Pat's not sitting in the anchor chair and trying to deliver a stoic daily newscast or radio show, Pat can be a little carefree and sarcastic with his comments. I don't know if you know that. But
it was great.
Todd found out the hard way yesterday that when Pat doesn't have to have control of the circus, he can be one of the monkeys. And that's exactly where we went. Flinging poo and everything.
But here now the program has taken a completely different turn and it's been made much, much better because I was down there on Saturday night in Madison at the 4-hour fantastic extravaganza of media people.
The Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Awards dinner. 4 hours, you say.
We have an award winner. I didn't hear my name called certainly all evening long after 4 hours. But Brittany Merlot, God love her, she not only that's exactly why I didn't hear my name called, because my microphone is balanced on books. But Brittany Merlot's name was called not once, not twice, but 3 times as a award winner, #1 for both her news reporting and her meteorology. And let me tell you, if you're going to pick a day to be butt naked, I think Brittany today is the day to do it because it's
don't connect the two. Don't connect the two. Let's keep the focus on the awards. Again, I'm suddenly seeing why there were no Alba or Kreitlow names in the program. Of course,
exactly.
I put nothing in there because, like I said, there are middle schools where the principal delivers announcements over the PA system more worthy of WBA awards than this program. So I'm glad that Brittany could actually set the bar high for civic media and make sure that we are recognized for the good work that some of us do under the roof. present company, me and Todd excluded, of course.
Oh,
So
get out of here. You guys are amazing, honestly. I don't know why you didn't walk away with awards.
yeah, by the way, thank you, Tony, for putting it up on YouTube that, yeah, Todd also accused me of day drinking when I didn't answer the phone right away for him yesterday because I didn't, come when he snapped his fingers, So,
I may have been self-projecting on that one.
maybe. And you know what, Brittany? I was out in the backyard at the time because, how's this for a transition, WBA? Because, the weather was so gorgeous out there. And we would like for that to continue, maybe with a little hiccup from a passing cold front.
I know, this cold front. We've got those winds just blasting out of the north right now at about 25 miles per hour, cooling us down, keeping us, well, not as hot as yesterday. 87 degrees in Ashland, way up
Whoa.
north, off of Lake Superior. They hit 87 degrees. So that was a wild warm day yesterday after they had a wildfire on Monday that burned 23 acres. And now with these winds and the dry conditions and no rain in sight, we're in a very high fire danger today. And that's probably going to last until we get significant rain, which I don't see another chance of rain really hitting the state until Saturday. That's when another cold front moves through, and it could spark up some scattered showers and thunderstorms. That actually starts Friday night way up north, works its way through the state through the overnight, and kind of winds up down south through Saturday morning. But otherwise, temperatures do take a little hit tomorrow. We'll be into the 60s across the state, still sunny. And then we warm things back up as we go into Friday and especially into the weekend, back into those mid to upper 70s, even some 80s are going to be felt again. And I just love that it's going to be bright and beautiful and warm for Mother's Day because moms, you deserve it. That's a hard job.
Aw, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
To which my mom would say, yeah, that figures, Patrick. So yes, Mother's Day is coming up.
It is.
Yep, I got a card for her this year for Joan, and it says, here's a card for you on Mother's Day on time. And you open it up and it says, sent and signed and sent by your daughter-in-law. And then Sherry signs it. And I just kind of put my name way down at the bottom there. The people at Hallmark, they know me so well. I don't know.
May I ask a weather-related question, Pat?
The chair recognizes the delegate with the towel. Yes, Mr. Alba.
Thank you very much. Now, Brittany, I've heard. I want you to explain this to our listeners because I hear we're in the middle of an Omega front. Omega front, which we have lots of Christian nationalists in Madison, because there's so many, are running around very scared because I think this is biblical. We've already had the Alpha.
Not the Alpha and Omega.
It must be the end of the world.
No.
What is an Omega front and why is this important?
No.
Okay, so it's like the Greek letter omega, right? So it's shaped like that. That is what's happening across the country. We've got two low pressure systems that are cut off. They're big, they're not moving, and they're bringing some flooding and crazy stuff going on there. But it's also locking a high pressure system in right over us, which means abundant sunshine, dry conditions, no rain in the forecast, nothing is able to move. So our jet streams that usually send in multiple low pressures every few days, they've been stalled and they're on hold wherever they are. So that's kind of what this means and what's going on for us and why we have such a long dry stretch, tons of sunny weather. It kind of makes my job a little easy.
For folks who don't know, the Greek letter Omega didn't go to fancy schools like Todd Alba's Richland Center
UW
Academy or
Blackville.
wherever you went. Yes, exactly. And Omega is like an O, but you set it on the stovetop and the bottom kind of melts and extends off to the left and right there. And that's what you see on the map right now, essentially.
The only reason I know that because there's a big fraternity community in Platteville, which I was never a part of. But Sam Davidson, our producer this hour, Sam Davidson, shared with us because he was filling in for Zommers on our program. He went to his first toga party. Speaking of Omega and frat parties, so it is the season, right? For during this Omega front, great time to have a frat party or have a toga party.
Toga party's a good time. Gotta say.
How did I lose control of my own show that we went from Omega blocks to toga parties? This is madness, I tell you. I don't even know where to go from here, Brittany. I'm just going to say goodbye. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the beautiful day.
Brittany, isn't this is award-winning? This is award-winning material, right? You should know.
We're going to agree to disagree on that one. So there you go. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you. Bye, Todd.
See you later.
So, Todd.
Yes.
Seriously, what do you do with your microphone over there? I keep hearing it rumble.
I got
First
thrown
off, hold it
because my
up. Let me
earbuds
see
stopped
what
working.
this is. Let me see the microphone. Can you hold that up, please, for
it's a
the
very
folks
nice-
watching the social media?
Like-
Okay, that's a perfectly lovely, but it's on a mic stand that is 2 inches tall. And
Well,
there is
not unlike
there's-
our main studio at the world headquarters of Civic
Well,
Media right now. I just want to feel like I'm doing my normal show with my mic on books.
Well, again, I'm thinking a different mic stand would probably solve this for you, buddy. 89 cents at Radio Shack, I think.
You want to know the actual truth? Here's what happened. I had a mic stand that fit this when I was at Hayward for the Birkenbiner last year. I was using my own stuff. But then I was, you want to know? I was doing up north, what used to be Up North News Radio. I was doing that, and I was doing, it wore itself out, and that mic stand broke, and so now I don't
You
have
broke
that
the
one.
mic stand. Okay. All right. Well, now we know what.
I
when's
sacrificed for you, Pat Kreitlow.
When's your birthday?
I wouldn't sacrifice my body, but by God, I'd sacrifice a microphone stand.
When's your birthday now that I know what to get you? You know, some half-decent broadcast equipment.
Well, October.
Tony on YouTube. Just one segment ago, you had a congressman. What a turn. Indeed. What did you have yesterday when we so rudely interrupted each other? You were doing a what's worse thing. Is this a thing you do?
Sweaty or chills?
These are the weighty issues that get considered between
These
2
are
and
the
4 in the
weighty issues
afternoon.
in the afternoon, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's just a segment we have some fun with. What's worse? We pick something, and so yesterday was sweaty or chills. Pat Kreitlow, what's worse?
Chills are worse because clearly you're sick if you got that.
Well, I guess or shivering. That's what it was. It was sweaty or shivering. Shivering.
Yeah, shivering's still worse. Cold is way worse than hot.
See, I disagree. Sweaty, because I usually always get sweaty when I'm at an event or I'm moving stuff around for the show, and then I can't eat it. Ugh, no.
See, this again, much like Jane and Greg have their palate cleanser, or what is it? The audio sorbet.
And they have a harp music for it.
The little harp music that plays that clearly we don't have here on demand.
Anyway,
and you're doing sweaty versus shivering over here. These are the kinds of things. If I need something to cleanse the palate and not focus on all the serious stuff, I just know to call in Todd Alba. And this is what we get.
This again, why our show is not up for any sort of awards, but we do have a lot of fun.
Yes, that works perfectly.
We can't all be the powerhouse of Tom Hartman. You understand? We just can't all be that.
Wow. Well, that took a turn toward the network. Still ahead this hour, Joe Zapecki. But first, from the heart of America's Up North and live from Lake Wissota, thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network. Yeah, we're still getting used to that production library.
Stick around, and for those on the stream, watching the stream, Joe Zapecki is going to announce some big news coming up because his campaign is Jay-Z for chair. Overnight, Beyonce endorsed him. So I'm very excited about that.
That's not what it is at all. He's on at 8:30. Do you want to hang around till then?
Yeah, I don't think you want to be.
That's why I didn't say goodbye to you in case you wanted to stick around for this local cut-in.
It's up to you.
We haven't actually gotten any news, and I know you talk about news here. So
I do, yeah.
You want to start with the 600 items Republicans are going to cut from joint finance?
Oh, Lord, yeah. We talked about childcare yesterday. Oof.
Oh, I know. Well, yeah, we all did. We all had Corrine on at some point, and she's just so good at it. But yeah, I'm still hearing the speaker there from you.
I'm
so
sorry.
your headphones literally don't work.
I don't know how to listen. I guess I don't know how to listen without.
And that's all you got is your earbuds?
I do, but they're like I say, let's see if I can plug them in quick. See how fast I can charge. They never. I can't remember the last time they were completely dead.
That's okay. I just didn't know if you had headphone, like a spare pair.
Is there still an echo now?
I don't know. Let me talk for a minute here, and I don't.
All right.
No, I don't hear myself, so we're good.
All right. I turned the monitor volume way down.
Okay. I will make sure that you can hear me. Oh, yeah, I did not want to get into this. There was a committee hearing yesterday on a bill to help military recruiters access students in high schools. Boy, did that blow up the comment sections, like, so can Veterans for Peace have something in there too, So anyway, all right, we'll back in 10 seconds. We've got matinee baseball on the Civic Media Radio Network. Coverage begins at 11:35 this morning. Brewers versus Astros. Brewers looking for the sweep. Catch that game on several Civic Media radio stations. Head over to the website to learn where and how you can listen in as the Brewers go for that sweep. Jake Bauers hit a 2-run homer last night to help the Brewers to a 4-3 victory over Houston. Chad Patrick worked a career-high 6 2/3 innings, carrying a one-hit shutout into the 7th inning. After this afternoon's game, the Brewers hit the road again for Tampa this weekend, followed by Cleveland. Todd Alba is still with us now, having ditched the towel turban for a more stylish Brewers cap.
Yes.
The man knows to stay on theme, if nothing else. He hears about the Brewers hat comes out. That's great. It's good work out of you.
And coming up Friday, we have the new Fabulous Friday extravaganza, right?
Yes,
The
but
ticket giveaway.
see, I'm gone for the next 2 Fridays, and so I'm not really up to speed on it. Do you know enough to talk about it off the cuff?
I can make something up, sure. No, I'm just kidding. No, starting, I believe, this Friday on maybe not Pat's show because he's on vacation, but I thought Pat's show. I think it's going to be mornings with Pat Kreitlow, Matt Nair on air from 9 until 11. And then somehow I'm told Tom Hartman's giving away tickets, and then me, and then Maggie Dawn. And every Friday, you text to win, and someone each Friday for the rest of the season is going to win 4 tickets in our beautiful club level section at AmFam Field, except for the week that we have our text to win Sizzle Rama Verlo mattress giveaway, or whatever those things are. But otherwise, every Friday Brewers giveaway.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, Chad Holmes will be filling in for me the next 2 Fridays. Kristen Lyerly will be around on the Mondays. Matt Rothschild takes next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But I'm sure there will be ample opportunity for those Brewers tickets. Let's talk a bit about some news. You knew we had to get around to news eventually, folks. And the Joint Finance Committee tomorrow, I believe, is going to be cutting more than 600 items that Governor Tony Evers had proposed for the next state budget. We don't have to review the whole schmear because we know these are all things that have majority support among Wisconsinites, but Republican legislators, for whatever reason, either because they don't agree with them or just for the sake of a power play, are going to strip them out. I guess it's nothing new, Todd, but it strikes me every 2 years as something so disingenuous as to strike these things without the benefit of a vote, by the way. They don't put the Republicans on record for, stripping out the mental health aid money. They don't put them on, on notice for stripping out the, the food assistance or whatever. They just put it in one big motion and take it out.
I was around the Capitol for enough years, and I know, Pat, you covered it and then were a part of it. I still remember guys for conservatives out there, people that still call themselves Republicans in my former party that I left in 2011. I still remember guys like Joe Leon, Republican, who was the longtime powerful co-chair of the Joint Finance Committee. And guess what? They actually had real hearings that lasted for hours and days, and they're excruciating. But guys like Joe Leon would give people their time to actually have a voice before the committee, and there were real debates back in those days. And as you said, Pat, now you got Howard Markline on the Senate side from my neck of the woods out in Southwest Wisconsin, who is a guy, as our friend Trygve Olson says, there are some people that want to do in politics, there are some people that want to be, and Howard Markline is a guy that just wants to be. And they're not really interested in having tough because these things are tough. You know, Pat, you were there, and they're very difficult decisions because not everything can get funded, even with a $4 billion surplus. And there are tough decisions, but the key is to give people a voice, to listen, and then to figure out how do you get people 75% of the loaf. And we just don't have, we have zero-sum people. I would argue on both parties at least, but I can't speak for every person in the Joint Finance Committee. I think guys like Representative Tip,
McGuire.
Pat. Thanks.
Tip McGuire.
They're very thoughtful on the Democratic side. But we had I know you guys have been talking about it here as well, but we had a guest on from Corrine's Childcare in Mount Horeb here in Dane County yesterday, and a small business owner from New Glarus and Greene County. And they're part of the Wisconsin Main Street Alliance, a great group, by the way, talking about childcare and the fact that there was, the COVID, the pandemic money have been supplementing childcare in Wisconsin, some of these funds, and now they're gone. And Joint Finance announced yesterday that they're not interested in using part of that $4 billion with a B surplus to help that out. And it doesn't matter whether you're at Lake Wissota or Madison or Milwaukee or Richland Center, childcare, as we all know, is a huge thing. And guess what? If you want to use Republican language, it's a job creator, because people can't go to work and work jobs if they don't have childcare.
And I'm just amazed that the Republicans, as a bloc, that there's not that maverick wannabe that says, and by the way, this path is wide open, Republicans, for one to step up and go, I'm actually in favor of childcare and protecting it and the jobs that be created. And we haven't seen one of those yet. Or as Tony puts up on YouTube, protecting citizens from health insurance companies. How unpopular. Because, they're stripping out the governor's proposal to audit health insurance companies with a proven record of rejecting claims from their Wisconsin customers.
And that's nothing to say of our state university system and also K-12. We're talking with folks last hour, National Childcare Teacher Week. My family are educators. Here's something, Pat. Let's a little positivity. If you see one of your kids' teachers at the grocery store, just say thanks. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just say thanks for what you do. We recognize you. If you have a PTO in your community, give to that. They buy gift cards or whatever. I mean, those are positive things. And the old phrase, just be kind. Mm-hmm. I think that our communities need this and recognition. It doesn't cost a dime, but to know that the sacrifices our educators are making in this state, despite what might be happening in the legislature or isn't, that they still matter. So there's a little positivity. And if you're a Democrat, listening to Pat Kreitlow, vote for Joe Zepecki, for God's sake, for chairman. There's something positive you can do.
Joe Zepecki's coming up next.
That because that comes from a former Republican.
Thank you, Todd Alba. Have a wonderful day, Joe Zepecki, after this. I mean, could you just keep talking right into the commercial break too, so that I can't even toss it to break?
I couldn't hear the music.
Do you not own a clock?
I don't know. It was all I could do to get clothes on and get out here. Come on.
God, I mean, a sundial, anything, buddy. Try to keep up here.
That was the most rip-roaring
I'm starting to jinx you, Joe.
Yet.
Oh yeah, that's the kind of endorsement that you can't pay money for that.
You can't buy that kind of endorsement.
No, nor would you want to. Mr. Alba, I guess I'll see you at 2:06, perhaps.
I look forward to it. Nervous anticipation. Go get him, Joe.
And no other listeners will. All right. See you, buddy.
See you later. Bye.
All right. How's Joe today?
I'm fine. I'm up your way tomorrow. That's why part of this. So I'm going through Madison this afternoon, and then I'm ending in Eau Claire. And tomorrow morning we're doing a Medicaid roundtable in Eau Claire.
Oh, okay.
From 10 to 11.
Mm-hmm. Where's that at?
Shift Cafe and Cyclery.
Oh, yes, of course.
I imagine that probably doesn't work for you to pop down to.
But, possibly.
But then I'm going to go to Coffee Clatch right after that.
Oh, that's right. Yes, Coffee Clatch is a must. So okay, good for you. All right. So
and then I'm going to end my evening in Walworth County.
Okay.
Tomorrow, because
as one does.
No rest for the wicked.
No.
Oh wait, the weary. That's what I meant.
Well, frankly, none of us are getting any rest here. Alrighty, let's see. Did we send? Yeah, I sent you stuff, so we're good to go there. Yeah. All right, 3 minutes left in the break. I'll come get you in a bit. Hey, remember to sign up for those newsletters, upnorthnewswi.com. Click subscribe up in the top banner, and you can get our daily newsletter that Christina Laurie puts together with many fine features about life in Wisconsin, including today, all about planning a water park trip to one of the many fine water parks in the Wisconsin Dells area. There's another story there about native plants to Wisconsin, pollinator friendly, that you could be planting in your garden. I didn't really understand or appreciate till a couple of days back when somebody said, yeah, a lot of the, not, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are flower and garden shops around that sell plants that people like, but they're not necessarily native to Wisconsin. They're almost more invasive to other species that are here. So I'm going to have to learn more about that. But again, you can learn about that in our newsletter as well. Joe Zepecki is here. Normally you hear Melissa Baldoff on Wednesdays, Joe Zepecki on Thursdays. The husband and wife are flipping days this week because Joe is going to be on the road as part of his campaign for state Democratic Party chair and talking about all kinds of issues, healthcare and things like that, including something on Thursday morning in downtown Eau Claire, right?
That's right. Well, first of all, we call the Melissa to Joe swap the old husband-wife dipsy-do traderoo. I'm pretty sure that's a
dipsy-do traderoo
specific
trademark that
reflection
yes.
of swapping radio slots. Yes, tomorrow we'll be in the Eau Claire area. As your listeners know, Medicaid is on the chopping block. Republicans in Washington, any day now, are going to go ahead and mark up the ways they plan to decimate health care coverage for seniors and babies and support for people with disabilities. And so we are having another conversation focused on Medicaid with people who are able to live independently and work, with parents of kiddos who were born with pre-existing conditions. One of my favorite tricks of the English language, how absurd that is. And so we'll be having a conversation with State Senator Jeff Smith, potentially some other area lawmakers, about what's at stake when it comes to Medicaid. And then I'm going to pop over and talk to some Democrats in the area who are trying to figure out who they're going to vote for state party chair. So it's going to be a fun morning and probably early afternoon.
No doubt, as part of the travels all around. Let's keep the focus on Medicaid for a moment with this simple question about Senator Ron Johnson's remarks the other day. Did he do you a favor? Did he do a lot of people trying to save Medicaid a favor with his comments where he basically roots for killing Medicaid coverage and says, the other members of my party need to stop being so squeamish and saying we can't cut this or we can't cut that. We have to cut everything to hear Ron Johnson tell it. And it really kind of, gives up the ghost when it comes to other Republicans, say Derek Van Orden, who are all like, oh no, we're going to protect Medicaid. We're going to cut nothing but waste, fraud, and abuse everywhere else. Ron Johnson saying the quiet part out loud, is that almost helpful?
Almost.
In a way.
I'm struggling with this one, and I think the struggle is more about Senator Ron Johnson than it is the words coming out of his mouth. Mm-hmm. Listen, there are political maxims and truisms, and for most folks, if most Republicans came out and just said, nope, this is it, folks, we're cutting it, we want to gut this thing down to the studs, that would be helpful. I understand why you're asking that. Ron Johnson is so divorced from reality, so detached from anything resembling common sense, that I don't think anything he says is helpful, and that's where I'm struggling. Because this is the same Senator Ron Johnson who in the last week went on TV, goes on the shows, and says, boy, these Trump tariffs are killing Wisconsin manufacturers. I'm talking to them, and they're telling me that if we keep this up, they're going to go out of business. And then he is given an opportunity on the floor of the United States Senate to vote to override Trump's tariffs, and he doesn't do it. So he says one thing and he votes another way on Trump tariffs that are hitting Wisconsin manufacturers. That same newsletter you were talking about, which walks through the water parks, also details the analysis that shows Wisconsin will be hit worst of all by the tariffs. And Ron Johnson can't get that right. And then he starts flapping his gums on Medicaid. He is someone who you cannot trust what he says. And it seems like every passing week or year, the things that he says are more and more ridiculous. And so I don't know what to do about that. I'm not here to, lay odds on the politics of it. What I'm here to tell your listeners is we have to keep the pressure up. Ron Johnson may be gone, but Josh Hawley and the new senator from Ohio and Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, there are other Republicans who are movable and who are gettable, and we don't need that many of them to stop the wrecking ball that destroying Medicaid would mean for Wisconsin. And I don't just mean for the people who receive Medicaid support so they can live independently and continue to work and not be in a facility or a home. I also mean our Wisconsin economy. 30,000 Wisconsin businesses get money from Medicaid every year. That is money that is moving through our economy. It is employing workers. And the notion that we can cut $500 billion, $880 billion more, like Johnson is suggesting, from Medicaid and not have it be a cascading economic tsunami is ridiculous. Each congressional district would, in Wisconsin alone, would see more than $1 billion come out of its economy if what Ron Johnson and his colleagues are talking about happens. So he can spout off and talk his talk. We're going to keep up the fight. We're going to keep up the pressure and try to protect people who are trying to live lives of dignity and purpose. with a little bit of help, just a little bit of help, and to put the lie to the nonsense you're going to hear, 73.5% of Wisconsinites on Medicaid are already working adults. So miss me with we just want people to work stuff. No, people already are working.
Joe Zepecki is our guest here. Look, I'm going to be off Friday. Normally, I would ask this of Kia Vakil from Courier Newsroom, but let's take this to the next level in the Congress and ask it this way. So we have, as you said, there are Republicans who are what you would call gettable. They are in purple districts. There are plenty of people who have kind of tut-tutted that, we don't need cuts that big. You've got Ron Johnson, on the other hand, saying, come on, everybody, bear down and let's really do it this time. And we already know that any deadlines that House Speaker Mike Johnson has set are going to come and go for any action. Is it yet possible that even with Trump in the White House and them controlling the House and the Senate, that the House and Senate Republicans or the MAGA and what used to be called moderate Republicans are going to be so far apart? Could we actually get to, what would it be, October 1st, the end of the fiscal year? And even with total Republican control, they're still going to have to pass continuing resolutions because they can't agree on a final product?
Yes, but only if we keep up the pressure. And that's the hard part, right? Is we have to keep it up. But I'm old enough to remember a month ago when Republican leaders in Congress said, we're going to get this reconciliation package done by the end of May. And now they have already moved the goalposts to late summer. They are not good at this. We can win and we can stop this. And so keep up the pressure, keep up the calls. Yeah, and as for Ron Johnson, I just had the flash in my mind. Remember this scene from Old School with Will Ferrell in the locker room, and he's all sweaty and like, we can do this, let's go. That feels like Ron Johnson's enthusiasm for slashing Medicaid. And if that doesn't tell you all you need to know about the senior senator from Wisconsin, I don't know what will.
Well, while we're talking about the enthusiasm for cuts, let's move it to the state capitol here, where Republicans on the Joint Finance Committee have outlined something like 612 different items from Governor Tony Evers' proposals that they're going to cut tomorrow, and they're going to do it in one fell swoop. They're not going to ask for individual votes on each one of these worthy ideas. I know it's nothing new. This is now the fourth state budget cycle we've been through with Governor Evers, but I've noticed that it ramps up each time. There was like 200 some the first time, 300 some the second time, 500 2 years ago, and more than 600 this time around. For a legislature that is no longer as gerrymandered and has more districts in play, this still seems like somewhat of a gutsy move on their part to pretend like they still have, almost veto-proof majorities.
But Pat, you didn't tell the listeners how this represents progress.
Okay.
On the fourth budget cycle.
There is a little progress about this.
In the first three budget cycles, what did Republicans do? They just chucked the whole thing and started from base. This time, they're merely stripping out 621, I think that number's right, policy items, but at least they didn't throw the whole thing out. And I know that's like a weird, subtle difference, and it's rare the morning that Pat has me being the optimist. But this actually is a little bit different. And perhaps, despite the fact that with 10 pickups in the Assembly and 3 in the Senate, it's crazy to me that the JFC breakdown is still 12-4 and Republicans didn't, give anything on that. And perhaps there are enough Republicans in Mr. Voss's caucus in particular, and there certainly should be in Mr. Lemieux's, that are looking over their shoulder and going, we could actually lose this thing. And let's find some ways to at least signal towards responsible governing and working with the other side. And so I'm not going to give them more credit than they deserve. The 621 policy items that they stripped out are popular. They are common sense. This is not radical policy, and this is not a Republican, caucus or two between the two chambers that has proven that their ability to work real hard or show up and do anything for the people of Wisconsin. You know, in the pandemic, they went home for 9 months. And so it's one thing to say, well, policy doesn't belong in the budget. We'll come back and do this later. But there's no reason to believe them when they say, we'll come back and do this later. And so we can certainly chop up some of your favorite of those 621. But I just think overall, it's an interesting dynamic where they haven't done it this way before. And in that respect, it is a little progress. But at the same time, boy, are they cutting out a lot of stuff that would be really good for Wisconsin and that Democrats will never stop fighting for.
And perhaps, once again, heading into that next cycle, Democrats will do more to resurrect those things in terms of their campaigning and in their messaging and say, look, these ideas were actually put forward and they were cut out. But, you have to tell that to whoever the next state party chair is.
And listen, the communication starts now.
Yeah.
Right. When this stuff gets stripped out, every targeted GOP member in a battleground district needs to hear about it. And that's one of the things we're talking about, how to work more closely with the caucuses and be a good partner to make sure that accountability work starts during this budget cycle.
Mm-hmm. Joe Zepecki is chair for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, and you can learn more over at joezepecki.com. Don't do what I did. Spell it correctly the first time. Zepecki. What did I do the first time? Z-I, didn't I? No, it's Z-E-P-E.
Z-A is an often misspell.
There's an A in there. Yeah, Kreitlow, like I'm one to throw stones over here. So, hey, a reminder, we have Brewers baseball this afternoon. Coverage starts at 11:35 on several Civic Media stations. Head over civicmedia.us to learn more. I'm Pat Kreitlow, reminding you to follow us from what we do at upnorthnewswi.com and sign up for the newsletters there. Hey, remember all the words from your Pledge of Allegiance: liberty and justice for all. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. There we go. All right, look at it. We got the website in and everything. You want to hang around for a bit and take one more question on the lawsuits? Or do you want to run off?
You tell me.
What
would Melissa do? I'm playing the role of my better half.
Melissa would say, yeah, I'll take one more question.
Okay.
I've always got time for one more
So what's
question.
the question?
The 14 lawsuits. Is that
great.
the right front to be fighting on?
Yeah,
and then we'll turn to one James Kelly here for some Western Wisconsin news. How you doing, James?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks, too. So, all right, let's see. We will be back at 52:20. So I'll see you both in just a little bit. James Kelly will be along in just a minute with a bit of an update on happenings around western Wisconsin in the news. But first, let's wrap things up with Joe Zepecki. Before some of our stations had to cut away for a local update, I wanted to squeeze in one more question, and it dealt with the governor announcing yet another lawsuit that the state is joining to try to stop some of the cuts and the firings by the Trump administration. I believe it's 14 different lawsuits so far. And I just wanted to ask you if that is, I don't want to say the best that we can do, but I mean, is that our only avenue, is that you find some courts that stop this, or does it at least slow things down? What's your take on fighting this on 14 different fronts?
Good. Thank you, Governor Evers, for standing up for the rule of law. This is how you stop an authoritarian in its tracks. You use the courts, you use the media, you use public opinion, you get people out in the streets. Tony Evers is doing exactly what he should be doing. And it's not just the court stuff. It is when the border czar threatens to arrest our governor. Tony coming out immediately and saying, I'm not backing down. This is a scare tactic. I'm operating under the law. I always have. And so good on Tony Evers. Good on Josh Call. 14 is a lot. And this is the type of environment and the challenge that we elect these leaders to meet. And they are meeting it. And so I applaud them. My hat is off to them. And go down the list. The things that they are in court for are, in before times, pretty straightforward, clear-cut things. Like when Congress appropriates money, it has to be spent because the president signed it into law. And, so kudos to them. We all got to have their back. The other way you stop a regime like this is you continue to use your voice. Everyone use your voice. That is the only way through this.
Words of wisdom from Joe Zepecki that we get every week, usually Thursdays, but a happy visit on a Wednesday before you and Melissa pull the old, how did you put it, the old spousal switcheroo?
The husband-wife switcheroo trickadoo? I don't know.
Traderoo.
Traderoo. Yeah.
We'll be talking to Melissa tomorrow. Thank you, Joe. Safe travels. We'll talk to you a little later.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let's bring James Kelly in now, civic media reporter up in here. Beautiful Chippewa Falls, covering stories all around western Wisconsin. How is James today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Just listening to all the drama with Todd Albaugh unfold there. And, I'm just sitting here thinking, who would misread an event cancellation email in their Gmail account? Certainly not me.
James did the same thing yesterday, but did not try to publicly embarrass me the way that Todd Albaugh did for it. So thank you, James. I appreciate that. Let's pick up where we left off with Joe, and that was with Governor Evers. He has been all around western and northwest Wisconsin for several different topics that you've been tracking for folks.
Yeah, he was in Chippewa Falls on Thursday talking about youth mental health investments in the biennial budget. Saturday up in Rice Lake for the fishing opener. And then earlier this week visited the Wisconsin Logging Museum over in Eau Claire to promote the tourism industry and how much money's been brought in through that in 2023, even 2022, setting a record and then breaking it the following year. I had to say, walking around the Wisconsin Logging Museum, because there's really not much to do at these tours except kind of take the tour with whatever politician is there to do it. I'm glad that I live in the era of air conditioning.
Yes. And look, time brings its different economic priorities. We were once, the world capital for logging. And so the museum is there to talk about a very proud part, but those things don't last forever. And the same with any other, industry. So for, again, my personal editorial for Donald Trump to say we're going to build iPhones and Barbie dolls in factories here in the U.S. is just not in step with the times, whereas Governor Evers has been trying to bring in the actual jobs of today. Let's turn to Dunn County, where, again, we talk about affordability across rural Wisconsin. There's always been a problem with, transportation issues there, public transportation as well. What is it that Dunn County Transit's going to try to do about that?
Yeah, so they're going to be offering rides for residents that live in more rural areas. It's a big county. There's a lot of space that isn't quite in Menominee, so public transit could be an issue for, accessing healthcare, just getting to areas where you can do some shopping. That can be very difficult, especially for older residents who may not want to be driving around the roads themselves anymore. So for the month of June, they've split the county into 4 quadrants. They'll be offering rides through a pilot program in one quadrant each week for the month of June. And if that's successful, it'll go on beyond that. For the month of June, it'll be free. All you have to do is call 24 hours ahead to schedule your ride.
You know, it just occurs to me that if I were a bit more entrepreneurial and I lived in one of these places that you could do it, I'd start a shuttle service. And what I would do is I'd have two routes. I'd have a daytime route, which takes you to past all the clinics and maybe some of the shops, and then a PM route that takes you past some of the, shall we say, the watering holes in the community. And look, a lot of bars have those already. They have, nighttime shuttles that people ride sober. Start running those things by day to people getting to their appointments and everything, and double your funds. I'm so glad I could give this get rich quick scheme to the bar owners who have shuttles all across Wisconsin. Finally, unfortunately, on a down note, there was a failed referendum in the Shell Lake School District, and the other shoe is dropping as we would expect.
Yeah, it's actually a reproposal of a previously proposed referendum, which failed for a second time. So now the district's facing a $500,000 budget shortfall for next year. They're eliminating 3 teachers' positions, 1 administrative assistant position, reducing custodial hours. And I think one of the big ones that's going to affect everybody in the district is they're increasing employee-paid health insurance deductibles. They're just saying the same thing that every other school district is saying. They're not getting enough money from the state, and costs are going up.
And that is the reality after something like this happens, especially in this case, the Shell Lake School District. James Kelly follows all this and more from Chippewa Falls for Civic Media. James, thanks. Good to talk to you. Remember, next week, not so much. But
Not so much next week.
We'll see you the week afterwards. I really got to write my memos better. All right. Thanks, James. We will talk to you later. Again, a reminder tomorrow, Melissa Baldoff and also State Senator Sarah Kieski talking about a bill that would prevent hedge funds from owning private single-family homes in Wisconsin. My thanks to Joe Zepecki, Mark Pocan, Jill Underley, Melissa Kay, and all of you for being here this morning. Up North News is part of Courier Newsroom, a pro-democracy newsroom. And we appreciate you being here for us this morning. I'll see you back here up north tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Have a great day.